And see, we have a full quorum of counselors here ready to do the city's work. It is approximately 4 minutes after 6. Today is Tuesday, February 20th, 2018. And if you could please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance before we begin. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we begin this evening, I think we've been doing this quite often, but let's have a moment of silence for the people who tragically lost their lives last week at the high school in Parkland, Florida, and keep them in their family and their community in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Thank you. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin our presentations, which is agenda item number 2. If you have a cell phone, if you could please silence it, we'd appreciate that. And if you need to take a call, if you could step out of our chambers, that would be very, very helpful as well. We are streaming live on our computer system, our internet, and so I would ask that everyone speak clearly and loudly, and if you come up to the podium, be sure that you are speaking into the microphone because we are recording it as well. Interestingly, I believe, Ms. Postlewaite, people can send you a question during the meeting. Is that correct, if they have one? So this is Technology 101. Then also, if anyone would like to, and I'm just going to announce it at the beginning of the meeting, we do have our local city council rules that allow any citizen or anyone who's participating here in our meeting this evening to ask any kind of question or comment on any of the agenda items. And you have up to 3 minutes. And this would be after we present the case, after we hear from the council. And if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll address or point you out and ask you to come to the podium. So this is just our local rules, and I wanted to remind you of that as well. Okay, thank you. So we're so glad everybody could join us this evening. We go then to presentation number 2.1. I'd like to introduce our Chief, Joe Salvaggio, and he will introduce our new officer, Officer Johnson. If Officer Johnson could please come forward. Thank you. Good evening. How are you? Hi, Officer. How are you? Nice to meet you. Welcome to Leon Valley. We're so glad you're here. We have a certificate of achievement, and then Chief Joe will we have somebody to pin your badge, and then some comments. Very good. Certificate of achievement. Whereas in recognition of your promotion to the rank of lieutenant. Sergeant. What says your lieutenant?
It does.
Hello.
Sergeant.
Uh-oh. I'm just reading.
Thank you.
Well, we just gave
you
another promotion. Okay, rank of sergeant with the Leon Valley Police Department. This certificate of achievement is awarded to Sergeant Blake Johnson. Whereas in recognition of the excellent record you compiled during your 26-plus years of dedicated law enforcement service to the grateful citizens of Bexar County and communities it encompasses. Whereas as a patrol sergeant for the Bexar County Sheriff's Department, you tirelessly served the entire region, keeping us all safe from criminals, selflessly serving those in need, and honorably helping all members of the community, regardless of gender, race, religion, or creed. Whereas you have steadfastly upheld your oath to enforce all federal, state, and local laws in an impartial manner, your integrity, character, and ethics have remained above reproach, setting the example for the citizens that we serve, as well as all officers in the law enforcement community. Now therefore I, Chris Riley, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby promote you to the rank of sergeant with the Leon Valley Police Department. Signed by my hand this 20th day of February 2018. Congratulations, Sergeant Johnson. Let's give him a round of applause and welcome him to our city.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet. We're going to take some pictures. And Chief, here you go.
Before I give her the badge, do want to say a couple words. Sergeant coming to us with, like you saw, 26 years of experience. Not only was he coming with 26 years of experience, he's coming with, I believe, 9 as a sergeant. So we're not getting, even though he's new to us, he's not new to this job. He's not new to supervising and leading. It's really good to have these type of people that are wanting to come to Leon Valley. It says something about the city and it says something about the police department. Not saying anything about it before, but we're getting some extremely good candidates that are coming here, and it was very hard in making the decision, but Sergeant beat out a lot of people that were equally as qualified, but none that I felt like could serve the community in the manner that we have set for our officers. And so he comes with a big background of volunteerism, with getting out and doing stuff with the community, with working with the kids, explore programs and things like that. And so he's going to come in here and plug and play basically for us as to how we do things and what we expect of our officers, and more importantly, we expect of our leaders. So I didn't know Sergeant Johnson before. I didn't know him, but I got some about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, got a call on him and said, hey, you really need to consider this guy because he won't come to my police department because it's too far away. We have Chief Pestis back here in the back that was that phone call. So I'm sorry to say that he didn't get the job because of you. He got the job despite you. I would say that. So, but welcome aboard. He's been with us the last week or two, and so please pin his badge on and welcome him to the police department. Let me get an ouch. There we go.
Would you like to say a few words, please, Sergeant?
No, I don't usually like to come up and say the things, but I really appreciate the opportunity. This has been just the opening of everybody coming and really receiving me, and I really appreciate it. As the citizens of the city, I certainly encourage you to continue to communicate to us what the needs and the concerns are. If the police department cannot assist you, I assure you we will get you to the people that can, because in the end, our job is serving the community, and so if we're not doing that, then that's something we need to continue to keep us accountable for. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come to you, and like I said, please continue to communicate to us so that we can continue to serve you better. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you again. Yes.
No.
No, he's not here today. Just another note that Officer Chapman, who was supposed to be here this evening, was unable to, and we will have his welcome and badge ceremony at the next City Council meeting. Agenda item number 2.2, monthly financial report from January of 2018, and we have Vicki Wallace, our finance director for the City of Leon Valley, here to present this evening. Welcome, Vicki, and thank you for being here. I'm sorry? She's just pulling up your PowerPoint. Okay, very good.
There. track is PowerPoint for financial. I want everyone to see it because it's
Certainly.
PowerPoint.
I
just
think
it's-
numbers are real important that we can see.
they are.
You
They're
bet.
very important. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. So if you'll just bear with us, we'll have it up and running in just a few minutes. There we go. Great. And the lights, please. Felicia, could you please get the lights? Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I'm pleased to be here tonight to present to you the financial report for the month of January. The first one I'm going to go over is general fund. And as you can see, you know, the one thing that sticks out to me is sales tax. It right now is up 4.42% from what it was the same time last year. The other thing, if you look at the franchise taxes, you can see that there's quite a bit of decrease there. And one of the main reasons for that is we decided with the new auditors, the CPS franchise fee that comes in November, part of it was technically in the other fiscal year. We've never, ever accrued that back, but this auditor decided she wanted it accrued back. We said, yes, ma'am, we will do that. So we took $141,000 and accrued it back. It will catch up next fiscal year. During this fiscal year, when we come to the end, it will catch up and it'll be fine. But that's one of the main reasons why you see such a discrepancy between what it is in 18 and what it is in 17 was because of CPS franchise fee.
So we had to move that back to 2017.
She said she just felt better doing it. I said, that's fine. And auditors change, you know. And my conversation with her was, well, you know, y'all did it before and we've always done it that way. Doesn't mean we can't change it. And she says, I know, but I want it changed. I said, fine, but it will catch up.
Okay.
So I am not concerned in the least
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, so I had that highlighted as well.
Yes, that's a pretty big one. And the other thing is for our cable franchise fees are in there. We did not receive AT&T's or Southwestern Bell until February, and we just now received Time Warner Cable. So that's why you're going to see it show up next time, but it did. And the other thing that concerns me about the AT&T is what they report to as revenue is grossly down from what it was this time last year. So I've put in a call twice, which is sometimes I may or may not be able to get a hold of them, and hopefully they will call me back so they can say it because there's a huge difference in that. And I think they've just done an accounting error.
Okay.
So I'm not concerned about that yet. Your license, permits, fees, and fines. Building permits are up 20%, but that's because of Valencia Lofts and the Quick Trip. The court fines are down 19%. And part of that is because of their program for, that they're running right now, the Denise
Community
service. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the tickets
Yeah.
are only down like 14 tickets, so it's not tickets, it's a community service. Is what that's down. So I'm not concerned about
But that has a
one yet.
value. But
Huh?
that has a value.
It has a
Community-
value.
it does.
Yes, we were
So,
at 112 this same time last year. We're at 89,000 this right now for January.
Right.
So it does have a value, and you do lose money when you do it, but there's a reason why you do it.
That's right.
If you also look at then the other thing that we have in the license, permits, fees, and fines is that's where we have impound lot. And we did not have that in January of last year. It didn't start until May. So there's 44,000
Okay.
right there. Miscellaneous, there's a big increase. Well, not a big increase, but there is an increase in there. But for some reason, we had somebody come in, yay, to pay their Linkwood lien that we had.
That's right.
And so the principal goes to the Linkwood account. We have a special one set up years and years ago before I came. They decided when they did it that no one was going to pay them off. So basically in the debt service fund, they set up that liability over there. So when the principal comes in, it goes there, so the interest then hits general fund. So that was like 15,000 because that person had 2 lots and they had never paid on it. So that's the big one. As far as expenditures, you know, in the general fund, I don't see anything. All of them are tracking. The majority of them have done either encumbered or made their purchase for their capital, which is a really big deal to get that done and get it out of the way. So there's nothing in the expenditure category that really raises the flag to me at this point in the general fund, unless there's something that you want to ask
Well,
about.
I think we're going to talk about economic development, but
Yeah,
that's
that's
only
later
at
down.
8.2%, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've got a slide in here for that.
Okay, right, exactly.
So then in the water and sewer, and Council Martinez asked this question, and I can see why he would. You know, he said, well, look at your revenue versus your expenditures. And I said, yes, but if you look at the very last column for 17,
Crystal.
there. So if you pull up and you look at 17, you know, you've got, your expenditures are higher than your revenues, which we're just going through the winter months. That is a normal thing, and I'm not concerned about it. You know, when we get into the summer months, if it's like that still, then I would become a little concerned about it, but I don't think we're going to have a problem there. I think it's fine.
Okay, and what was on the water and sewer fund, what's the 243.2% of miscellaneous, what is that?
CDBG
CDBG?
funds, we got 160,000. We got
All right, thank
reimbursed
you.
for the project, it's
Okay.
Conestoga water main thing that they're replacing, so
Okay.
that we got reimbursed on that.
Okay.
So that's a one-time.
And then stormwater on expenses under water and sewer, what are we spending 70% of our money on?
That is the Hebner Timber Hill
Hebner Timber Hill.
drainage.
Okay, that's the drainage, okay. And then the other sources and uses, we've already spent all that money?
That is what we transfer over to the debt service to
Okay.
pay for the water and sewer debt.
Okay,
And so
So
what we
that's
do
the
is
debt.
we really need to do that right away. As soon as we close out the fiscal year and ready to go to the new year, and we've got everything closed out, which happens in December, then we make that transfer over to the debt service fund to pay for that debt.
okay, great, thank you.
Then if you'll go to the next slide up, which is the community center fund, there's a problem. And part of the hotel tax is because one of the hotels, they are not paying timely or like they're supposed to. He told me he would be in today to pay. He did not come in today. I did contact the comptroller's office, and I think they made the phone call because I told them he's unresponsive, and he's already in collections with them. So he did call me and say, I am being responsive. No, you're not calling him off because you didn't come in yet. But, you know, if we get that, then we should be, and I think he will come in eventually, but he keeps paying penalty on it. And it's, but, so that is what it is. We're doing everything we can to collect the money. On the community center, on the rental fees, you can see we did 10,080 and we did 10,146. I'm not concerned with that. It tracks pretty close. What I am concerned about is the conference center. We're at 2,728 and last year we were at 8,009. And so I talked to Maribel, and she said basically that she's going to change her strategy. I mean, because we've sit down and we've looked at it over and over and say, what's the deal? And, you know, you could say, well, maybe it's the Evers Road, but it can't be, because if it was, then the community center would be down. It just doesn't track. Or if it got classed to the wrong building, then they would be over, but they're not. So it's just the rentals are just down, but she's going to look at upping her advertising and trying to
Okay.
get the word out.
All right. And weren't we supposed to be remodeling the kitchen this year?
Yes,
And is that in here too,
It
under
is,
our
but they're- yes.
expenditures?
Yeah, it's under capital, but they're not going to do it now.
But they're not going to do it
AC
now?
units.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, they're going to what?
AC units, because they're as old as the building is, and they're,
So we're not doing the kitchen this year, we're going to do the AC units instead? Okay.
oh, be next year.
We're gonna make a recommendation to roll the money over to next year, so not spend the money for the remodel, but roll the funds over to next year and then add 15,000 in order to replace the AC units. Because the AC units, like, they're holding on by like bubble gum and
Oh,
tape is what Melinda said.
Hmm.
And so they're having, and the seniors, I'm sure they've complained a little bit, but they've had to be relocated because the heat went out, then the AC went out.
Oh,
and then
wow.
flooded
Okay.
the kitchen, and so
Oh,
they
my.
need to be replaced, but they're really expensive to replace, so we're gonna do one next year. You had it in your long-term capital plan, but not for
Not for next-
2026, I think it was.
Yeah, or 2025, I think. Can't
Something
remember.
like that, and it just won't hold up till then. So that was gonna be our recommendation, we just haven't brought it yet.
Okay, all right. Oh, yes, you have a question, Mr. Martinez?
I have a question about the hotel motel taxes. Now that we're a home rule city, the long-term stay motels. Now, I understand if a person pays by the month, they don't pay the hot tax. But what if a person doesn't have the full month and goes in and pays a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time, is that subject to the hot tax?
Mayor, Councilor Martinez, yes, that's subject to the hot tax.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, Counselor Jordan.
How long has the hotel been delinquent?
It was for the taxes that would due for the quarter that ended December 31st, so they had to January 31st.
So they pay directly to the city?
Yes. They also have to remit, they remit their portion that's due to the state, and the portion that's due to us, which is 7%, or they get a 1% discount if they pay it on time, they remit directly to us.
Okay.
And it used to be you could go online and pull up, now you can't, now it's proprietary, they're saying, but you could go up and pull up to see what they reported to the state. You can't do that anymore. But if you call the state and they verify that you are with the city, I can, and that I could give them enough information to know that they were reporting to me, then they'll talk to me and tell me.
Is this the first quarter that they've been delinquent?
No, it is not.
And what do we do in the past?
Call him, and he would answer, and he would come in and pay it, and then as soon as he pays it, then I'd send him out the penalty, and he'd come right in and pay the penalty. But this time he would not. I started the first week we came back after the 31st, calling him because he's out of Dallas. Well, first of all, I called up here, and they said, you have to call him, which I did. No response. Called the next day, no response. Left a voicemail each time. And I just kept calling, and then I called, and then I had typed up the letter and had them take a letter and hand deliver it and then sign off for it, and still no response. But after I called the comptroller, then I got a response.
So we have no way to verify that they, in fact, what they made unless we, after the fact, we call the state and verify it that way.
Correct.
Is there anything punitive that we can do in reference to?
Penalize them.
I
And
mean-
they can write him a citation. My understanding. But what I do is once they pay, then I send out the letter, and he's come in and he's paid it every time and penalize him.
So how long has this pattern been going on?
Probably for the last 3 quarters,
3 quarters? Okay,
to make the third.
yes, thank you.
So that makes them
Counselor.
ineligible, they're no longer qualified as extended stay if they don't meet the criteria for those tax payment timelines, is that right?
It's not an extended stay one.
Mayor, Councilor Jordan, the hotel she's talking about is not an extended stay.
Okay,
Hold on, where's Bob?
okay.
A comment, if you don't pay your taxes, the state can be very aggressive.
You're right.
They'll just come
Yes.
in there and take the money right out of your checking account.
They'll freeze his assets.
freeze
and
it.
Yeah, and that's when I called him, I said, what can you guys have more bite than I do, obviously. And she said, well, we'll go in and freeze his assets in his bank account. And I said, oh, go for it.
Okay.
So that
All
same
right.
day, that evening, he called and left me a voicemail saying exactly what I had told her, almost. He didn't say they called him, but he said that he is being responsive. He just want to let me know he's being responsive, and he'll be in Tuesday. Okay, you're not here. I'm not calling the comptroller till I get my money.
Well, I'm glad we're having this review because it brings us all up to date here. Fantastic, thank you. And so the next one is the Economic Development Fund.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions on the Community Development Fund. Okay. Community Center Fund, excuse me. So this is economic/community development together, correct? Yes. Right. Even though it just says economic development, it's both. Yes, okay.
Okay, so this is the economic development, and this slide was done, the city manager requested that I detail this out this way so that you could see what actually happened in 17, and then what the budget is in 18, and then actually where we stand as of by month. So as you can see, we've gotten 45,000, and I just want to, we've talked about this before, but sales tax, we're always 2 months behind, because December is for October, January is for November. And so the sales tax that we get in October and November is accrued back to the previous fiscal year because it is for August and September. So this only represents 2 months, that 45,000.
The actual, okay.
The actual only represents 2 months. And so then you can see, if you go further down, you can see they've only spent $23,962. So if you want to look at it this way, which I'm not a fan of it because I don't think a fund balance is a fund balance until the end of the fiscal year and you've done your audit. But this is unaudited, it's $76,298. Now the one for 17 is audited, and that's real, that $54,825. Because that does have, certain things that are specifically, tied to it as far as expenditures.
But the 291,828, you've projected the sales tax for the whole year.
Yes,
So
that
that's
is
the
correct.
money that
There's
we
the
have to
budget. Yeah.
work with. Okay, so, can you delineate what we have accounted for? Like I believe you told me today that for projects, out of that 291,828, we have 107,000 allocated for economic development projects. And how much have we spent to date on that? Do we still go back to
Well, we've
October
only
1st?
spent like 3,900 on one project. And I don't know, I think we did some last year, but for this fiscal year.
Oh, that's right. It was in
Yes.
August is when we
Yes.
were
So
doing
for this year,
Okay.
we've done only one, and it was
Only
like
one.
3,900, wasn't the full 6,000. But I
Okay.
don't know whether or not there's any
Bless
more
you.
that's coming forward.
Okay. And what other expenditures do we have?
You have personnel costs in there, you have supplies, but the big thing that I think we sometimes forget, and I'm just as bad about it, but when you look at the contractual side of it, what is in there is rebates that we have through 380 agreements, which is either a ad valorem rebate or a sales tax rebate. Those are your big ones. All the other things are small, $200 for utilities, phone, they're not big, and the project funding, that's it. Those are your only big expenditures in there, in contractual.
Okay. And so how much is that?
For contractual,
And that's for just one business, right? That we pay both the property and the sales tax rebate, right?
yeah, yes, it's only one property.
And-
So basically, you have 237,591 just for contractual, and that includes 40,000 for attorney fees for the litigation. It also includes 54,000 for sales tax, 200,000 for telephone, 312 for utilities, advertising is 400, travel is 4,000, membership dues and license is 400, the ad valorem rebate is 27,000, and then what was the original budget for ED project funding was 117.
117. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, 111,039.
Okay. Very
Did
good.
it-
Dr. Edwards?
Did I hear it correctly, 200,000 for phones?
No,
You meant 200, yeah.
$200.
Mhm.
100,
Yeah.
oh,
200.
okay.
So the big bulk of it is for the attorney fees for the 380 agreement and the ED project funding.
Okay. All right.
There's 4,000 for office supplies and operating supplies, and there's only 50,000 in there for personnel costs.
50,000 for personnel cost. Okay. Very good. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Counselor Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What's the attorney's fees?
The attorney fees is for the litigation,
How much was that? 237?
40,000,
40,000, okay,
for anything that the city might have to pay for that.
got it. The 380 agreements, we have one. That's the,
The aquarium.
I'm sorry?
The aquarium, I
No,
believe.
The Leon Valley Cafe, is that the
But we-
active agreement that we still have?
Yes, you
But we
do.
don't pay them anything.
Correct.
The agreement doesn't require us to pay them, rebate them any sales tax.
Okay. So I thought I heard the money going out for the 380 agreement. How much was that?
27,000 is for the rebate for ad valorem taxes,
Okay,
and the other is one I don't like to discuss because it
I
is
got it.
very confidential.
yes, ma'am. Can this money be used for sidewalks, community and economic development, used for sidewalk repair and stuff like that as well?
It's infrastructure.
Mayor, Counselor Jordan, yes, that's considered community development.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, well, I'll get with you on the 3A, all that. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Dr. Edwards.
How much was the litigation cost?
40,000.
Is there a lot of litigation still ongoing?
Just one, very little.
Mayor and Councilman Edwards, there's just one piece of litigation going on, little,
It's still,
and that's just for,
there's still a lot of billing coming in on it, or?
we're
Or
at
is this,
the Supreme Court of Texas, so he still has to bill us for the work that he's doing there, as far as the brief he filed.
Mayor Dr. Edwards, we just did receive a rather large bill
Okay,
this
all right,
couple
thank
weeks
you.
ago.
That money will be, we'll be able to cover it with that.
I hope so. Right now, we're okay.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And we are going to have a monthly financial report from here on out so that we can keep track of our money, because that's, we're stewards of the taxpayer
Right.
dollars. And so we need to understand where the money's going to and where it's coming in from. So thank you for that, for
Right, and
keeping us.
what I want to add, Mayor, is that it's always posted online.
Good,
And
good.
if anyone goes to the PowerPoint, you click on that blue link, and it's
Uh-huh.
going to take you straight to the reports.
Okay, very good.
So if they want to pull up the agenda packet and they don't remember where to find it, but it's under financial transparency, and you can click on, you can pull up any of these reports. You can also pull up check registers. You can also pull up sales tax history, ad valorem tax history. There's just a lot of it.
Okay.
Perfect. So if you go down, you can pull up our CAFRs. you can pull-
And
there's a
if,
lot of
if
stuff.
anyone has a specific question,
Call me.
Ms. Walt, just call you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Extension 223.
Three. So,
Okay.
but here's, Crystal just pulled it up. but
Okay.
You can pull up,
Okay, those of you that really want to know more about the city's budget,
it's all right
it's
there.
right here. Full transparency.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do appreciate that. Mm-hmm. All right, then moving to our city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. That screen that you were just looking at, the financial transparency screen, in Leon Valley, we show so much more than that. We also literally show every check and deposit they go through. So we're extremely transparent on that tab on our website. So for the city manager's supplemental report, as you all know, the city manager's report is done the Friday prior to the council meetings. It's on the website and right out here on the table. But we always try to do supplemental stuff that we didn't get for you on Friday. The first thing I want to talk to you about is the screen that's up there right now. In the CAFR, which is the Certified Annual Financial Report that you received either last meeting or the meeting before, Mayor Riley, you were the one that pointed it out to me, the huge difference in the arrests in the police department. And so if you'll notice, the bottom numbers are the numbers that the auditor has been have used on the CAFRs. But when you go into the badge system, the correct numbers are the numbers on the top. And so we're actually going to ask the auditor to change this. The CAFR had already been certified and was finished, so we can't change it on this year's CAFR. But next year's CAFR, we plan on changing it. And what was happening is the auditor's numbers, they were basing them off of the officers' monthly reports, not the actual UCRs, which are the Uniform Crime Reports. And UCR has reportable criteria for arrests, not for offenders. For arrests, not for offenses. But the auditor's numbers that you see down there were calculated by offense, not individual arrests. So this is the reason that you see the discrepancy. And we've got all the numbers printed and all the documentation to back it up, and it'll be corrected on next year's CAFR. But I just wanted to make sure that, in the interest of transparency, that we let you know that I think it was like the last page or second to last page of the CAFR, those numbers are incorrect. Since the city manager's report on Friday, today I actually signed an award accepting a grant for the Leon Valley Police Department to transition from the older Sig Sauers to the Glocks, which is an upgrade in their weapons. So I just accepted that on the computer today. And upcoming important events, the next city council meeting will be March 6th at 6:00 p.m. Earthwise Living Day, a few Saturdays from now, March 3rd, from 9:30 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. There's going to be free yoga at the library starting March 4th through April the 29th. And that'll be from 3 to 4:30 at the library. And I think those are on Sundays. I don't have it written down, but I think that's what I read. Second annual Makerspace event at the library during spring break. That's Monday, March 12th and Tuesday, March 13th from 2 to 5 daily. The library also will be having, on Saturday, March 10th, the Hiding in the Spotlight play presentation. The Seniors Trash and Treasure Sale is at the Community Center March 31st from 9 to 2. Library Volunteer Appreciation Event is Wednesday, April 18th from 5 to 7. The general election filing period has passed. The general election will be held May 7th, and the filing period was from January 17th to February 16th. It's May 5th.
It's May
not
5th.
7th.
Yes,
And
correct.
she's got that wrong on here. Okay. Volunteer Appreciation Dinner is April 5th at the Conference Center at 6 p.m. Basura Bash, I think we had 2 counselors attend that Saturday. Were you the only 2? Counselor Alcacer and Counselor Jordan? Okay. And that was extremely successful. There's pictures posted. They did the cleanup behind that H-E-B parking lot over there. What a mess that was. And it looks really good now. The Raw Vegan and Vegetarian Society is meeting February 17th at 1:30 in the afternoon at the fire department in the training room. And the Alamo Area MPO public meeting for Bexar County is February 21st at 6 p.m. at the Via Metro Transit on San Pedro. Committee meetings, Citizens Police Advisory meets tomorrow. The Zoning Commission meets February 27th at 6:30 right here at City Hall. Earthwise Living meets, are you going to meet tomorrow, Mayor?
No, the 28th.
Not till the 28th? Okay, I thought by this time you would meet weekly because of the event. Okay,
Well, I'm the nervous Nellie, but nobody else is, so.
okay. So Earthwise Living Committee, February 28th, 5:30 at Public Works. And then finally, the Library Board of Trustees meeting is March 13th at 5:30, right there at the library. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions for our city manager this evening on the city manager's report, either from the council or from our citizens who are here this evening? Okay. See no one, then we will
Oh,
move. Oh, I do
sorry,
have
Mayor.
I had a couple, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I also would like to respectfully request that the council consider removing item 7.3 from the agenda, as the Rule 11 agreement is in draft, but it's not signed yet, so we're not ready for that. I would like to respectfully request that we move it to the next meeting, the first meeting in March.
Right. Very good. Okay, thank you. I do have a question, and that's the signage for the businesses that are affected by the Evers Road Bridge. I have not seen any signage. I have not seen, oh, excuse me, because I know it's the cafe and it's the library, and now it's the early voting. And so if you could address that, please, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I just got a call from the company today telling us to come pick up the signs, they're ready.
They're ready, okay.
So
And so
we'll-
you're going to put them at Evers and Seneca?
Yes, ma'am.
Just at that one end,
Yes,
as they're
ma'am.
coming down? Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, that'd been in the, yes, ma'am.
Okay, just one more thing regarding signs, just for, especially for the council's sake, because I'm assuming you may get some calls. There was a bunch of political signs put in the right-of-way over the weekend. Our codes department has removed them, and they're just at Public Works right inside the yard, so people can come back and pick them up if they want. But of course, it's a code violation to have those signs in the right-of-way. And so they were removed this morning. This happened during the last election, and they were removed, so we're just doing exactly what we did last time. But just want to give everybody the heads up, because you may get the calls.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. All right, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, moving then to agenda item number 4, citizens to be heard. Is there anyone in our chambers that would like to address the council? Please come forward and just state your name and what city you live in, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak. Good evening, Ms.
Hi.
Pearl, I know
Hi.
you.
I'm Judy Pearl, and I am a registered voter in Leon Valley. I originally came for another purpose, but because of the Evers Road Bridge, I now travel Bandera quite a bit, much more than I ever wanted to. One of the things that I originally was going to ask the council, if there was not a way to have businesses, when they leave this city, remove their signs. Because if you drive up and down Bandera, there's a lot of signs for businesses that no longer exist, including the orthodontist right there at Seneca, which now I see every time I go to Bandera. And there's a lot of them. And it's But then I noticed a bigger problem. And if you folks ride Bandera Road coming into the city from Eckert, there's no businesses left there. Um, Altec, which replaced the pool company, is gone. Dickey's is gone. The kidney dialysis center is closed. The florist shop has moved on, although there's another Mexican restaurant in there now. I'm glad to see that, but another Mexican restaurant. Bank of America building's been empty for years now. The hair salon is for sale. That's right there next to where, near Dickey's. The second floor next to that salon is for rent. And I just noticed today, Carl's Jr. is permanently closed. We're not even, that's before you get to Poss Road. I'm concerned, and especially after our financial report, because I would love to have the council, we're all worried about Bandera Road, but what are we doing about bringing businesses into this city? Because every business that goes out of there, we're not going to maintain our sales taxes. I mean, there's 3 restaurants that are gone already, and it looks like a very depressed area, and that's not anywhere near the flyover. And I happen to have, I asked my beautician just today, what's it like to do business with Leon Valley? And she said it's tough. She says there's so many regulations, people don't want to come in here. And I'm passing that along to you just to think about it, because like I know she said, I have my business next door, there's an empty store that I'm trying to rent. I know that the city's going to come and take out my for rent side. I don't know what businesses are supposed to do. But when you're, a small business owner trying to rent a room, basically, to put it in the paper is very expensive when you have a lot of traffic that drives by. I don't like to see all the signs either, but I've heard from other people that you're a tough city to do business in. And I'm sure it's all for our own benefit, but at this point, when you go on Bandera like I have to now, it's depressing and it's scary, because sooner or later, our taxes are going to have to go up to make the difference in that sales tax drop and the loss of business that we're having. So please, thank you for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearl, for those comments. I do appreciate it. Yes, I had the same question to the manager last week, and she gave me some interesting statistics, so I'm sure you'll share that right now.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Mayor, Council, Ms. Pearl. Want to speak of 2 businesses in particular. One of them is Carl's Jr. If you read the paper, Carl's Jr.'s are closing all around the country. In San Antonio alone, they've just had 4 close and are anticipating a few more. Dickey's franchise, the person that owned the Dickey's franchise actually did not work out, so the Dickey's itself is looking for a new franchise owner for that exact location. As far as businesses in Leon Valley, our sales taxes are trending upwards, so that's a good sign right now. And I don't remember the number, and the lady is not here that pulled the numbers for me, but I know they were over 200. What was that?
304 business
304.
over the last 2 years.
So I just
coming down.
wanted to, just for my own curiosity, I wanted to know how many business permits we had issued in the last 2 years. 304 was the answer. And so the evidence is in the sales tax, and they are trending upwards. But I certainly agree, it's an eyesore when you're driving down Bandera, and for many reasons, but that's one of them, when you see those empty buildings. But certainly I do have staff that's keeping up with those empty buildings, and I don't think there's anything we could have done about Carl's Jr. That's a national trend and a San Antonio trend they just closed for. And Dickey's hopefully will have a new franchise owner soon. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other? Okay, thank you so much. Any other citizens to be heard this evening? Yes. Ms. Joseph, good evening and welcome. If you'll state your name and where you live, please.
Lynn Joseph, 6423 Trotter Lane,
Okay.
and Mayor, City Council. I just have a question because I haven't been here for a while. Do we still have an EDC person that's looking for businesses for us?
All right. Yes, Ms. Kinsler.
Mayor, Council, Mrs. Joseph, we have 3 people right now that are doing ED. I'm one of them. The other one of them that I have doing ED is Maudie Bell, who's back there, raising her hand. She's in the training phases. And the other person that's been helping me tremendously contact the owners of properties, vacant properties, and he's also helping me contact just vacant properties so people that want to develop is Todd Morgan. So we've actually got 3 of us kind of tag teaming that right now. Eventually, the idea is to train Maudie Bell, but she had some other tasks that she needed to learn first.
Okay, and can I ask another question?
Sure.
The other question I have is, the property that the fish shop and the orthodontist, were those he just left, or were there code compliance problems, or what happened with, because that dentist has been there forever. I don't know if he finally retired and the fish.
Mayor, Council, Ms. Joseph, yes, there were numerous code compliance issues. We've been dealing with this property owner for a few years now, year and a half or so. So he's completely emptied out this side. I went in one night on this side. The last place was the fish place you were talking about on this side, to try to give him an EDC grant application to tell him we wanted him to stay in Leon Valley and to keep him here. He had cut off their water and their electricity, and they were scooping their leftover inventory in cups like this, trying to save the fish from dying. So he's just cutting off people's utilities. He's not a good property manager, and I have no problem going on the record saying that. He's hurting all of those businesses.
Same ones that,
He's doing it to both sides. And so
Okay.
we don't know what the plan is, but we are keeping up with both of them.
okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. Anyone else like to address the council at this time? Please come forward. Good evening and welcome. Please state your name and
My
where
name
you
is
live.
Cassie Rouse, and I live in Leon Valley.
Yeah.
I actually had a request from some people to come tell you guys that we're rather enjoying the larger recycle bins from Tiger, and that they've been very responsive to any requests that we've made. For a while, they were leaving a lot of the bins sort of in the middle, like near the driveway, so it's hard to pull in, and people requested they not do that. And my whole neighborhood this week, they were all left where the people had put them, like almost to the inch.
Okay.
So, and then I have some elderly neighbors that need it brought back up to their garages, and they're happy to do that, and they smile and they wave at everybody. So I just wanted to let you guys know that there are some happy things happening around.
Okay. That's always good to hear. Thank you.
That's all I wanted to say.
You bet. All right. Thank you so much, Cassie. All right. Yes. Felicia, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. I wanted to say something similar as well, some good news. We have been hearing from citizens as well about our website and especially the quick links. And it came up earlier, the live streaming. And we have had citizens call, ask for access to City Council, either agendas or the live streaming, the videos, and we're able to direct them quickly to that quick links. And I've been told it's user-friendly and they appreciate that service.
Okay.
So I just want
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. If there's no one else that would like to address the council, then we will move to announcements by the mayor and council, and we'll start with Dr. Edwards. Do you have any announcements this evening?
No, just thanks to everyone for coming out this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Alcacer.
Yes, I'm always pleased to see, especially the newer faces coming and, of course, the regulars. But I did go to the Basura Bash on Saturday, and the amount of volunteers were incredible. Mr. Jordan joined me for pictures at the end, so I don't know how much credit he can really
no
take.
fair.
But I have to spill the beans on that. The people were from the Science School of Technology. There were quite a few from there, including the principal or manager or owner. There were lots of folks from HEB. A group from SeaWorld came about 10:30, which is when we were finishing. And since they had come, there were about 10 of them, they decided to go ahead and go to another place across the creek, unfortunately, I think it was San Antonio. But so we just need to have a little bit more work, more of the creeks available, and we have enough to, and they're more than willing to help. There were lots of children. They were fantastic, including David Demeline's daughter, Olivia, was there. They were competing with each other for how much they could get. They were getting so much that they couldn't even drag their bags. And speaking of the businesses, the man who bought the Lax building was there volunteering with his fiance from SeaWorld. So here it is, a business owner there to volunteer. He told us, Mr. Jordan and myself, that he had 4 prospects for the building, so he hopes to have somebody there in the near future. So they are working at things, and to be already volunteering for our community, I thought was super. So, and
Good news.
please be kind to one another.
That's been a recurring theme. Thank you, Ms. Alcacer. Councilor Martinez.
Tomorrow, the Leon Valley Area Chamber of Commerce is having their monthly meeting at Henry's Puffy Taco. Meeting starts at 12 o'clock. A lot of people get there 11:30 and eat lunch first. But you're going to have, the guest speaker is going to be a lady from KLRN and talk about their auction coming up. So everybody's welcome to come and join us.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. Councilor Alcacer is correct. I did show up late at the Brochure Bash. So I was there as a cheerleader and a morale check. So everybody was in good spirits. It was fun. I did it last year, and it's a really good event for community engagement and so forth. The creek looked completely different from the beginning to when we left. And had a whole trailer load of garbage that they took off. So, thank you.
Councilor Ely.
Thank you. Yes, I do want to make mention that it seems a little lonely in the park nowadays. It's hard to imagine that it's still our park because we just don't have the amount of people that seem to visit it. But hopefully in the coming year, once we have the creek bed fixed and the trail, the hike and bike trail in place, that everyone will be out and ready to commune with each other in nature and enjoy what we have here, our resources that we do have here. The other thing is, once we have our weekend activity in a couple of weeks, our Earthwise Living event, we're going to have a slight change in what we normally have there, obviously because of transportation issues. We're going to be encouraging pedestrian and bike use. And with that in mind, we're encouraging people to bring their bikes, try not to come by vehicle. We are going to have some bike co-ops there offering 2-, 3-, and 4-wheeled vehicles for families and groups to come on down. So if you park at DPS, there should be a tent nearby that you can pick up a bike there, bring a helmet if you can. But there'll be guides to take you up, and hopefully we'll have the tour, so to speak, the maps up and available. But either way, we're hoping to get a lot of people out. It's a big day for us here in Leon Valley. Los Leones is on that day. 2,500 pieces of art exhibited at Marshall. That's a lot of people. So we're competing with them. But it doesn't mean you can't come and enjoy Earthwines as usual. We're going to have great events, great speakers. So please, if you do come, bring your bikes, come on down, enjoy the speakers, and we have a lot of giveaways, which we always love to have. So please come and enjoy. Thank you again for coming out tonight.
Thank you, and I just might add, it is free. Yes, so that's always nice. And I'm sure the trees will be given away again this year from the Tree Advisory Group, so we thank you for that. So yes, welcome, and we're so glad all of you could join us. I had just 2 announcements. There is a primary going on for the statewide races, and then the local races, the state rep and the judges. And we decided that we wanted to keep Leon Valley Conference Center as an early voting site. So we will have signage up, and so it began today. I wanted to let you know. Early voting for that primary, both Democrat and Republican, and you can live in Leon Valley or in the whole county and vote there. You don't have to live in Leon Valley to vote there. So if you have friends from outside of Leon Valley that want to come over and vote. But anyway, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, actually, it's today through March 2nd. So for the next week and a half, you have early voting down at the conference center. And the last 2 days, March 28th and through Friday, March 2nd, is from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Sunday, February 21st, that's the odd day, it's noon to 6. And then Saturday, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. as well. And so, but the rest of this week, it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I just want to encourage you to exercise your right to vote. It's very, very, all votes do count. So, and then second of all, we've been talking about Bandera Road. And, you know, as you know, if you attended the town hall meeting, we talked about Bandera Road and the options that we could consider for a improvement along the highway. This coming Wednesday at VIA is going to be a meeting for funding lots of projects within the, actually it's the 3.5 county region. So it's Bexar, Comal, Guadalupe, and half of Kendall. But you get your input. In other words, if you will, and you don't have to be there on Wednesday, you could go online. But something that I would like for y'all to look for and try to support is the city of San Antonio has a project of $8 million, and they are funding 8 different corridors in the county, $1 million per corridor. And word has it is that the city of San Antonio wants to substitute one corridor out for Bandera Road being in, so that we can maybe take the ideas that we talked about at the town hall and others and see where that might go. So if you could vote and support that, that would be great. And I think, you know, if we can get something going, it's going to take 7 years. It's going to take a long time. And as we start this process, think of the future and how technology is changing so rapidly. I'm like, autonomous vehicles are on the horizon. And I don't know if you read the paper today, but Chairman Wolf from the MPO has an idea about autonomous vehicle lanes from San Antonio to Austin dedicated, just for autonomous vehicles in the future. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we do need to try to come together as a community and figure out what to do. But with that said, I have been working with, or we have been working with Councilor Sandoval in District 7, and she just sent us a letter last week, and Mayor Nurnberg has sent a letter in support of our planning process that we've begun on Bandera Road to the TxDOT. So we'll see where that comes, and hopefully at the next meeting, we couldn't do it this meeting, but the next meeting, we will try to consider a resolution from our board that we will send also to TxDOT to look at different options for Bandera Road. So anyway, with that said, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out to the town hall. I don't know if you saw the final numbers, but 88% of the people that were there that participated supported the boulevard concept. And then, you know, there was a small percentage for the flyover and then a small percentage to do nothing. So anyway, it's a challenge, but we can do it. So thank you all for that. Yes, ma'am. Let's see. It's on San Pedro, right by SAC. It's at the main VIA offices, not offices. Oh, she's got it. Okay.
It's 1021 San Pedro.
Okay, 1021 San Pedro. If you go on e-news, I had asked the city to put the flyer on, and so you'll see that, and it should give you all the information there. Okay. but thank you, yeah. It's a very inclusive process. So, it's at 6 o'clock, correct? So, okay. With that said, then we will move to the consent agenda. So, oh yeah, there's the public meetings right there. Okay, great. Thank you, Crystal. May I have a motion? Oh, no, excuse me. Is there anyone on the council who would like to remove any of the consent agenda item number 6, 1, or 2 for discussion? Seeing no one, then may I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve 6.1, 2, and 3 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Edwards to approve the consent agenda item number 6. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving then to agenda item number 7, ordinances 1 through 6 are second readings. And Ms. Postley, if you'll
An ordinance of the City of Leon.
we're going to, you want us to remove the Agenda 3 first? Yes. May I have the manager has requested 7.3 be removed because it's not ready. We have not finalized the Rule 11 yet. So if I could have a motion to please remove Agenda Item 7.3 to a date certain? To a date certain? I just wanted to a date certain or no?
Sorry, we're having a logistical issue here.
Okay.
To the first meeting in March.
Okay, so it is to
Yes,
a
ma'am.
date certain. Yes, please.
I so, second.
Okay, so I'm sorry, who
Make a
moved?
motion that we
Okay.
remove item 7.3 until.
And your second. So we have a motion by Counselor Jordan and a second by Counselor Alcacer to remove agenda item number 7.3 to March 6, 2018. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving then to agenda item number 7.1, Ms. Postley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council approving the City of Leon Valley Hike and Bike Trail grading plan and trail alignment, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. My understanding that we have a new PowerPoint presentation from the last meeting. Is that correct?
It has been updated.
Okay, so if you could begin, I guess is that what the council would like to see, the updated presentation from the last meeting? Okay, thank you. And then we'll have a vote after that. Thank you and welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. This PowerPoint is to accept the recommendation from the Hike and Bike Trail Advisory Committee so they can move forward with research and recommending action on the hike and bike trail. As before, we did have the plans from 6S Engineering, Mr. Jess Swime, for the Hebner Creek Trail Phase 2 rough grading plans and trail alignment. It was January 11th that this was presented to the Hike and Bike Trail Committee, and they approved a recommendation going to City Council. These are the same plans we did pull up last time. You can see the trail there at the top of the ridge, of the new ridge, of the grading that has been going on in the creek. And here it starts, this is Bandera Road, and it pretty much follows El Verde, not at the very top, but on a ledge near the top of the grading. And this is just showing the slight ledge where the trail will be, and closer clips of the trail. And again, this is preliminary. This is not the plan of where the concrete will be, just where the ledge will be, the level that the hike and bike trail will be. And I have a slide here for the fiscal impact. If there are any questions,
right.
The top numbers are the original city estimate of the cost. And once we had a general approval to accept the grant, we actually got an official engineering opinion of probable cost, and that did go up a little bit. And you can see that the part that the city is responsible for has gone up a little bit. You can see here in the bottom right corner.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on.
Okay. Social equity.
Yes, we have the SEE statement again, the social equity of a hike and bike trail, free and open to the public.
Okay. All right.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Could you put back the, yes, the fiscal impact? I know Counselor Alcacer and I had been speaking before the meeting, but I'd like for her to ask the question.
Yes.
This is where I think, why I said it was in here, we have a major problem with the $500,000 cost for engineering. There has to be some mistake.
It's not a mistake. That cost was the original cost back in 2013 to build the trail from Shadow Mist to Evers. So the whole original idea, those engineering costs is what that was for.
So why is that in here?
Because we're only building a portion of it. Oh, why is it in there? To
Yes.
show you what the original was.
But we haven't expended that.
No.
Okay, see, it looks like we've expended it
Well,
to me.
it says original reimbursement grant, if you notice at the top of that heading.
I just wanted to include all the costs that we had gotten from when we first applied for the MPO grant.
Uh-huh.
I could have left it out of there,
Okay.
you know, because it's not even valid anymore. These were the costs that were sent to TxDOT when this project first got the first idea of the project. But for this portion of the trail, it's just going from Shadow Mist to the under the Bandera Road Bridge and then up. And so your engineering costs are going to be about $148,600.
So the probable cost is also no longer valid?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, I wish the slide weren't in there, because it certainly isn't helpful.
I'm sorry.
So,
Okay. So we only have 975,000, so 519,428. Do we have that in our budget?
No, ma'am. The county is expecting to be completed with their project with the LC-17
Okay.
midsummer, end of summer this year. Then they're going to maintain their project for 1 year. They will not be releasing the deed to us. As long as we don't have the deed to the property, we can't expend TxDOT funds.
Okay.
And so we're going to have to probably go into engineering in October, which will give us the chance to put the money for engineering for the rest of the engineering, not the $29,600 for what we're doing right now. But the $119,000 that you see, that would be put in next year's fiscal budget. We'll do the engineering through October, November, December, get it to TxDOT. That'll give them 6 months to review it, and then by the time the county does deed us the land, we'll be ready for construction. And so you're looking at putting any kind of funding in the next fiscal year.
So why did it go up from 282,000 to 519,000? Where is that coming from?
I think the original budget was a misestimate. I don't think we did not get a true opinion of probable cost when we had submitted that grant to TxDOT. And what that actually led to was the MPO stating a rule change for them as well. I don't think we're the only city that did it, but our project was underestimated. And once we got the funding for it and then hired the engineer, they came up with a true opinion of probable cost, which was much higher.
Yeah, original was 1.2 million from going from Evers to Shadow Mist. Do you remember that?
And when we got the opinion of probable cost, it was actually closer to 2 million.
Right. Okay. So I didn't realize we couldn't even start until we get the land. So we're going to have to move this. We're going to have to move this out again from the MPO.
Well, we've actually got it in the 2019 plan
Do
for
we?
the
Okay,
MPO, so
good.
we
I
did
thought it was
good there.
18.
We're set there.
We're good. Okay, great. Thank you. Yes. Counselor Jordan.
yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, that's going to be one of my questions. Is there a timeline for us to spend the money that we were given for the grant?
No, it has been moved from one
right.
fiscal year to another. In fact, we've done that twice, and they still have our pot of funds.
Okay, from the original, how much has an increase from the original
Not too much.
plan? 'Cause,
Well, you have three originals. The original is from Shadow Mist to Evers. The
Okay.
second one was from Bandera to Evers. That would be what we're calling, I guess, segment 1. That was stopped, and now we're doing from Shadow Mist to Bandera, which is actually segment 2. So
Okay.
you've got 3 different cost things. So what I was trying to show here was what we originally had gotten as a cost from TxDOT and our engineers to what this section of the trail is actually going to cost.
So it's approximately, on the first estimate, it's 282,000, and it comes, the second one came in at 519, so
Yes, sir. You
That's
also have to
200
remember, we're 4 years down the road from when we first got our first estimates.
okay, so it's like 140,000, plus the 29,000 difference. I mean, the 30,000 from the engineering at the bottom, with the portion for grading removed.
The total engineering for this project would be 148,600. If we pass an ordinance that will be heard later, then this would be dropped to 119,000.
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
I have a request in for funds later on in this council meeting.
A
Okay.
budget
which
Oh, yeah,
adjustment.
that's right,
a
budget
portion
adjustment.
of this.
First reading. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Right. Melinda, the reason why this council moved the project, just for clarification to the people that are here and people that are watching, is because when we had the original trail that had to be cut in half because of funding from Evers to the bridge at Bandera Road, it went nowhere. And it just kind of ended. And so that's why it was switched from Shadow Mist up to the Hebner Onion Homestead, because hopefully we'll have one seamless connection to the Howard Peak trail up to UTSA. So that was the reason why we changed it. I just wanted everybody to know that. But how much did I know we spent quite a number of hours, but did we already spend pre-engineering dollars on that first phase?
Yes, on segment 1.
On segment 1, and so that's not included in here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, very good. That's what I was afraid of. Okay, Counselor Martinez.
Is there any way you could come back next meeting with the original and phase 1 and phase 2, just the figures that you talked about?
Yes, sir.
So we can have it up here, and that way we can make it a lot easier to see and make it more transparent for the people, our citizens to
Yes,
see?
sir. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. So, but this right now is focused on the grading and trail alignment, and this is our second reading. So we would need unless there's any further questions. Yes.
Point of clarification, Mayor. Since this is the second reading,
we can vote, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But my concern is, Counselor Martinez wants it brought back.
No.
So would you just like a
I
presentation,
just want a
Counselor?
presentation of
Okay.
how the monies were, the 3 different scenarios.
So
that
just
she-
a simple
Just a
presentation?
simple presentation,
Okay,
nothing
very
fancy.
good. Just making sure we
I
understand.
think we can do that in agenda item
include it
number
because
3.
The-
8.3.
One of these items has to
Yeah.
come back again
Yeah,
anyway.
that's,
you can do it that time.
that's the
Okay.
regular agenda item 8.3. We can put it in there. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, let's have a vote then.
I move that we approve the ordinance regarding the hike and bike trail as presented.
All right, we have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Ely to approve the ordinance regarding the hike and bike trail grading plan and trail alignment. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving to agenda item number 7.2, Ms. Postley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing a budget adjustment to decrease the stormwater fund for fiscal year 2017-2018 in the amount of $17,500 to provide additional funding for a mowing tractor and shredder with accessories, providing a repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Moritz, do you have anything to add from your first reading?
Yes, Counselor Alcacer had asked that I go get some prices on a Kubota tractor.
Okay.
And while I would now dearly love to have one of those, we could not find a used one. We checked with several vendors around here, and there are no used ones. And the new ones, even though they gave a substantial discount on it, we would still end up, normal price would be $81,879, and that's just for the tractor. The shredder was $21,903. We would still need to have a substantial budget adjustment for that, so.
Okay.
But they're very nice. They're really, really nice.
Sorry.
I would only need, no.
Okay, so which is the one then that we've decided to go with?
It was the John Deere 75.
The John Deere 75. Okay, very good.
Made in America.
Oh, made in America. There you go. All right. So any other questions for Ms. Moritz on this particular agenda item? All right, and may I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we accept the mower as presented.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Martinez and a second by Counselor Jordan to approve the ordinance authorizing the budget adjustment in the amount of $17,500 for a mowing tractor. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving down then to agenda item 7.4, Ms. Posley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing the continued closure of Evers Road during the majority of the construction of the Evers Road multi-culvert crossing project.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Moritz, is there any additional? Okay, just a reminder of those of you that were not here last week, instead of splitting it up and having the road closed for 4 months and then opening it up with 2 lanes for the next 4 months, Ms. Moritz presented to us last meeting, we would save $20,000 if we would keep it closed completely. And the contractor said he was hoping, weather permitting, that it would open full lanes on June 17th. Did I say that right? 18th, excuse me. Okay, I was 1 day off. All right. So anything else to add to that? And so to me, he was saying it was just going to cause a lot of headache to have 2 lanes open and back up. And this way we just get it all over with at once. And so if there's no further questions, comments from either our citizens or our council, what's the pleasure on this particular agenda item?
I so move.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Jordan and a second by Counselor Edwards to approve the ordinance authorizing the continued closure of Evers Road until completion of the Evers Road multi-culvert crossing to June 18th, weather permitting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you. Agenda item number 7.5, Ms. Posley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing the acceptance of the Texas Office of the Governor Grant Award in the amount of $23,850 to purchase ballistic rifle armor and carriers for Leon Valley police officers, authorizing a general fund budget adjustment increase in the amount of $23,850, providing for a repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you very much. Is Chief Joe here? I just was wondering if there
Not
was
sure where
anything.
he is, but I can probably answer
Okay.
grant questions if you have them.
Just wanted to, again, a pretty straightforward grant. I don't believe there's anything any different from the last meeting. Any questions for City Manager Kinsler on this, since Chief Joe is not here? All right. So what is the pleasure of
I
the council?
so move.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Edward and a second by Counselor Jordan to approve this ordinance accepting this grant award for ballistic rifles for $23,850. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to 7.6, Ms. Posley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
Authorizing a budget adjustment to decrease the general fund of the City of Leon Valley, Texas municipal budget for fiscal year of 2017-2018 in the amount of $1,840.25 to provide funding for signage reimbursement to North Star Sports LLC located at 7007 Bandera Road, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kinsler, any update on this sign, agenda item number 7.6?
Mayor, council, no updates.
Okay, very good. Any
Everything's the same.
questions for this? This is again our second reading. Yes.
Other than I would like to see more of this type of action come in before city council. This is a good use of economic development money. And like was mentioned earlier, we need to do everything we can to help our businesses. And we need to make our city business friendly.
Okay, all right.
So I make a motion, we approve this as presented.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Martinez and a second by Councilor Edwards to approve this ordinance regarding the reimbursement for the sign at North Star Sports as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Just an FYI before we move on, some of you that may not have been here, because we're a home rule, we now need to have 2 readings if it's an ordinance. And so as you saw in agenda item number 7, those are our second readings. And so we've already gotten the information at the prior meeting. And we are coming then to regular agenda item number 8, with the exception of number 1, 5, and 6, but these are all of our first readings. And so the first readings, again, will be going on the March 6th agenda as a second reading. So we cannot approve anything without 2 readings as per the Home Rule Charter. So just a FYI there. Moving then to agenda item number 8. Point 1, presentation, discussion, and possible action on a resolution authorizing a third amendment to the Leon Valley Cafe lease agreement. And we have Kelly Kinsler, our city manager, here to present. Good evening and welcome again.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, council. So I'm here this evening to talk to you about the Leon Valley Cafe. We talked earlier about the 1-380 agreement we have in existence right now. This is the one. So the purpose of this item is for the council to consider a 6-month temporary reduction in the lease agreement between the City of Leon Valley and the Leon Valley Cafe. I did want to note also that Mr. Ramos is here from the Leon Valley Cafe in case we have
Ramos.
questions from
Yes.
for Mr. Ramos. The reduction is for the, as I stated, a 6-month period, and the lease amount would drop from $1,800 a month to $900 a month. And my proposal would be from March 1st, 2018 through August 31st, 2018. So for a 6-month period. This is a third amendment to the lease agreement, and it's being considered, or I'm asking for your consideration for the following reasons. Construction of the bridge on Evers Road. The construction and closing of Evers Road has already caused a hardship to this cafe in their business and a reduction in customers. The business also has had to terminate employees due to the reduction in business that they've noticed because of the bridge closure. I won't read the C statement, but there it is. This is clearly an economic development move and a move to keep our 380 intact and to keep a very valuable Leon Valley business in place. If the council agrees to the third amendment, the fiscal impact that you're going to see is the reduction in rent for those 6 months from $1,800 to $900. The city will see a $7,200 reduction in revenue. That would be the fiscal impact that you would see. So my recommendation is that the council approve the third amendment to the lease agreement so that we can continue the operations of the Leon Valley Cafe during the transition of Evers Road and the construction of the new bridge.
Okay.
With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. And I know Councilor Martinez has just asked to be recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. My concern with this is the time frame. I would like to see the time frame increased to the rest of the year. We have a very good treasure in this business. And with the Evers Road closure, we need to do everything we can to help this business out. You know, how much income are we going to get if, God forbid, he had to close next month because of the bridge work? So I could, you know, that doesn't, the reduction in revenue doesn't bother me. I think we should strive to be business friendly and keep the $900 rent through the rest of the year. Let's see, what else was I say?
Okay.
That's about it. Yeah, just I think we should just increase it to the rest till the end of the end of the calendar year.
So Mayor, Council, Councilor Martinez, councilors, that is your decision. I will tell you the reasoning behind this. The bridge is supposed to reopen, weather permitting, in mid-June. So I tried to give them a 2.5-month time frame in there to restore business. If we find out in September that business has not been restored, we have a way, we look at what their sales tax is every month. That's part of the 380 agreement. So if we see that business has not been restored, then we can always come back for a fourth amendment. That's not a problem at all.
But for a business, just because, you know, I don't think 2.5 months can be enough time for them to really recover and recoup. That's why I'm strongly urging my fellow council members to consider increasing it to the end of the calendar year.
Okay. The calendar year, not the fiscal year.
Calendar year.
Okay, all right. That would be December versus September. Okay.
I think it behooves us to wait and see. I think that if you go there at certain times, their business is super, even to this day. I think with the people coming to vote, that will help. So let's just wait and see how it is, and we can it's very easy to make another decision than to make a projection at this point as to what will happen.
Okay. Anyone else? Dr. Edwards, Ms. Ely?
Could we hear from the chef?
Sure.
Mayor, Councilor, I just asked him if he was okay with this in a fourth amendment, and he said yes, he was, but I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Hi, Mr. Ramos, how are you? Just a question, how have you been impacted by this closure? What would you say your business is down by? What percentage?
I would say maybe like 50%.
50%?
50%. I mean, basically the amount of business I'm doing over there is the amount of business I was doing here.
Oh, no, with 5
The
takers.
only problem I have, here I have only 3 employees. Over there versus over there. It's just whenever it starts, we have 10 employees. So now we're just down to 5. I mean, we're just trying to keep it the most essential stuff that we have right now. And I mean, we figured out what to do. And that's what it is. More than anything, you know, anything else, but I mean, I approached to the city manager and I explained what's going on and things like that. And I mean, that's construction is need to happen, and that's what it is. But pretty much like 50%,
Wow.
yeah.
Exactly. You know, weather permitting, we don't know if it's going to open up in June. So maybe in this spirit of compromise, we could extend it 1 more month to the end of the fiscal year, and then reassess it. Because you know, I did not realize it was 50%. I was there on Saturday. I had an engagement there, and it wasn't as crowded as it had been. I can definitely
It's just
attest
some
to
day like
that.
it's going to be like normal day, and the next 3-4 days it's just like nothing happening. So, you know, we never know, and it's hard too because sometimes we don't have enough staff, and we just scramble to get everything together.
And what about purchasing food? Do you know what I'm saying? You have to purchase you know, food based on your customers.
Yeah, and so we change the menu. So every 6 months we change the menu and things like that. So I'm very careful. We're just very careful where we spend the money, what we do with, and you know, that's what we're doing right now. We're just trying to. My providers are coming like, "What's going on?" And like, well, you know, it's no business, and that's what it is. I mean, you know, but I mean that's the situation where we are right now.
I agree with Ms. Alcacer. Hopefully, if we can get the sign up and get people down to vote, they'll see that you're open, and that'll help. But I did not realize it was a 50% hit.
And besides, I just figure out maybe these people technology, we're running technology. Once Google, I think, give you the notice there's construction, there are people on the railroad and everything. So hopefully that will help a lot because a lot of people have find us Google or Yelp. That's how they find us. So a lot of people concerned like, I'm going to get stopped, I'm going to get ticket, I get through to the construction and say, no, totally fine, just come over, you know. But a lot of people had that conception.
Right.
Okay?
Okay. Yes. Who else would like to weigh in? Yes, Councilor Jordan.
When did it become a 50% impact? I mean, the road was closed down, but at what point did you start laying off employees, and at what point did you level out at 50%?
I say, let me look for 1 month. So I keep on my employees very much since last week. That's when I started letting people go. I talked to them. I said, I'm really sorry. Most of them, they're very supportive. They totally understand it. Some of them, I'll be here. Just give me this amount of hours. Can you handle it? I said, well, yeah, we can work out things out. But I just recently 2 weeks I start. People let it go.
So it went down 50% in 1 month. Is that what you said?
Since, I started looking my sales since we came back from a break in January to this date. And that's what we started to notice. Especially, Saturdays is, I guess, where a lot of people coming out of the city. And that's where we get a lot of people out of town visiting, things like that. That's when we notice a lot of traffic from people who's outside the city or just outside the neighborhood, things like that. So we got our customer base is coming from a lot of people from Saturdays, according to our sales and credit card receipts. The zip code we get more visits on Saturdays is from Helores, Alamo Heights, and Hollywood Park. That's where a lot of people come in to visit on the weekends. We got the credit card receipts for the zip code. That's where the zip codes that a lot of people come in. We don't see those anymore. On the Yelp media, we were in number 6 in January. Now we are number 48.
Oh, no.
And it's how many people look for you and try to visit your business and things like that. So that's where we hold. As a part, we're going to participate in the Paella Challenge in San Antonio, and we're going to participate in Save the Arts in May. That's the things we try to expose the restaurant outside of the Leon Valley. So that's what we're trying to do in social media, try to be there and things like that.
Right, so your sales are down 50%, but you still had to pay $1,800 for rent for January and February. So that's...
I just give a little chance to see what's going on, give a little test, but, when I find out it's going to be that, I say, no way I will survive. No way I will survive. I say, we never know, maybe things change. Like I say, once people start figuring out the way to come in around the restaurant, then things get better. So.
Right, okay.
Just one more question. With the
Councilor
bridge
Jordan.
opening up in June, we have our 4th of July celebration in July, of course. Do you think it'll take you a year to recover from, or kind of break even?
As I shared with the city manager, my experience with the restaurants, people forget about you.
They forget about you?
They
Is that
forget
what you
about
said?
you if they just start going to different restaurants and they're like, oh, there's Leon Valley. So I don't know how I'm going to be able, I don't know how it's going to work. My experience is people decide to different route. I experience people who come in for lunch, they just call like people from USAA, they go like, you know what, no, I don't have time enough. I'm taking my food to go because I don't realize it was closed. Only have half an hour, now I only have 10 minutes because the lights. We encourage to call us and put the order in so when they come in, it's ready to go. But again, sometimes like the other day, we got table 10, then we got another 4, then we got a 6, then we got 8, and then we only got one server. Myself cooking in the back, so then we try to do the first part. It's sometimes hard to provide the service we want to provide when limited staff.
Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
I
Yes, Ms.
definitely
Ely.
want to keep you here and make sure that we do everything possible.
No,
to help you.
it's one of those things that when I decided to open this business in Leon Valley City, coming from the background where I was coming, a lot of people question me why. And I got to say that I tried to open in different parts of the city. It was really hard for me, being first-time business owner. And for some reason, it was more easy here in Leon Valley. And that's my experience. I tried to open in Stone Oak. I tried to open by La Cantera, and it was so hard. Being a first-time owner is really hard. So what I noticed lately is a lot of small businesses open. I think I was looking in the jail application. Here in Leon Valley is in the first 50 places like 5 or 6 restaurants, which is Kung Fu Noodles. We had a compact Korean barbecue place. And that made me so happy because it's just a lot of great restaurants opening here, being the 50 place in San Antonio. I think that's wonderful. So that's my experience as a restaurant owner, and so we've been more than happy to be here. I mean, we create a lot of relationships, a lot of great people, a lot of great experience. We met some new babies, families coming over, people propose us in the restaurant, they get married, they have kids now. So imagine all the experience, that's what's worth it for me to open a restaurant, keep going with this restaurant.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
And your son's about ready to graduate, so he may not be there to help you, right, in May?
Who knows these days?
Engineering, no, chemistry. He's going to get a degree in chemistry. Wow.
Chemistry, yes.
It's amazing, amazing. Okay, so what is the consensus then? The manager's recommending August. Councilor Martinez is recommending December, and I thought in a compromising maybe the end of the fiscal year, which would be September the 30th. So.
And Mayor, Council, just
Yes.
make it very clear, I'm recommending, that's your
Oh,
decision.
yeah,
I
okay.
just put in there August because it
August.
gave him 2.5
Okay,
months, but
sure.
whatever your
I
decision
understand.
is
So we
absolutely.
could do that, if, just put in a contingency clause that if it's not, back up to the prior level by August 31st, it'll be automatically extended to the end of the year. And
Okay. I think that's good, sure.
Based on what we see in sales tax?
Right, based on what we see in sales tax.
So in other words, it has to be up to the level it was prior to the closure, correct? It has to be back up to 100%, right?
Right.
No, not to my knowledge.
I don't know how you figure that, but
Well, I'm ready to make a motion.
okay. All right. So, Mr. Martinez, did you want to make the motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this, we reduce the rent to $900 a month through the end of the calendar year. And the reason I'm making this request is through September or even August, it takes a business a little bit of time to regroup and, let's let him grow a little bit. Maybe he'll have enough money to put a good sign out in front and, do a little more work on the property. But, let's give him a little cushion there. And that's why I'm looking forward to, my motion is do it through the end of the calendar year.
Okay. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Martinez and a second by Councilor Edwards to amend the Leon Valley Cafe lease agreement through the end of the year, December 31st, 2018, to $900 per month. Is that correct? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Was that aye for everybody? I just want to be sure. Okay, the motion does carry. Okay, so that's through the end of the calendar year, December 31st. Okay, thank you. Then moving to agenda item number 8.2, Ms. Posley, if you'll please read the ordinance. This is our first reading.
An ordinance amending the Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Fee Schedule, Section A2.003, Municipal Park Administrative Fees, subsection 1A through 1F, to increase park facility user fees, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Thank you. There we go. All right, so we have Ms. Moritz, our Public Works Director, to present, and Dave T. Smith from the Park Commission here this evening. Thank you. Welcome. So if you'll begin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
bet.
Mr. Smith, as you know, is a commissioner on our Park
Yes.
Commission, and he's the one who's done the most work on this, and so I'm going to let him give the presentation. He's fabulous at doing this.
Very good. Thank you. And welcome, Mr. Smith.
Mayor, Council, thank you. So we're here to talk about the fees related to the facilities at Raymond Rinkus Park. Just right up front, just so everybody knows, the park is, on all the facilities are completely free of charge to everyone. What we're going to be talking about today is specifically reserving certain parts of that, whether that's the large pavilion with the barbecue pit, the rentals of the courts, that sort of thing. So, like I said, we're looking at increasing all the fees on the parks. It's not by a lot, which you'll see here in a little bit, but just some history looking at the other cities. I know this is kind of hard to read, but on average, other cities in the area range anywhere from $15 an hour for rental charges, all the way up to $25, $30, depending on where it is. San Antonio, to do the most apples to apples comparison, would we take our large pavilion. In San Antonio, Monday through Thursday, that would cost you $15 an hour with a minimum of 4 hours. And then on the weekend, they actually charge $30 per hour. Currently, this is how the fee structure currently sits. We do split up in Leon Valley Monday through Thursday and Friday through Sunday for the large pavilion. And you kind of have to think of it two different ways. You can rent the pavilion with the barbecue pit and without the barbecue pit. So just kind of keep that in mind because it can get a little confusing sometimes. Right now, it's a $35 deposit or $40 deposit. There's a non-refundable application fee that you get charged of $35 to $40. The rental fee itself is $35 during the week, $50 on the weekend. And what you have to keep in mind, that gets you the thing for the whole day. So when you break it down to roughly an 8-hour day, it's costing $8.13 during the week, $11.25 an hour on the weekend without the pit. And of course, it goes up to $11.85 and $14.38 per hour with the barbecue pit, and it's a little extra cost associated with that because we've got to clean it and that sort of thing. For the other items, it's $5 an hour for any of the fields. Currently, what's not reservable is the Forest Oaks tennis court, the basketball court, and the horseshoe pit, which, if you didn't know, there's actually a horseshoe pit at Raymond Rinkus Park. And then the small pavilion, it's actually $5 a day to rent that out. The application fee on all that is $35. It's a 1-hour minimum on any of those fields with a 3-hour max, and it's actually in half-hour increments. I don't know anyone who's going to rent it for just half an hour. But the minimum and max times, according to the code, can be waived. We're looking to keep that. And then as far as the application fee, that's just a one-time fee. So if you're like a sport team that wants to rent the soccer field for 3 weeks, as long as you do it at the same time, you pay one application fee and then however much you need. Then, of course, there's non-refundable fees for large groups. These range anywhere from $50 to $150, and depending on the size of the group that you, and it's completely all honor system when they come and reserve. They ask you how much it is, and then it's assessed from there. So just so there's a little context for this, if you look at the paid rental history over the last 3 fiscal years. And of course, just so everybody knows, I gathered this data, but I looked through every single rental fee that Melinda was able to provide, all the sheets and everything, and tallied them up to try to get the best head count that I can. So I would call all these numbers approximate versus actual. Reservations, total reservations in 2015 was 160, 2016 454, and 2017 was 202. The big difference there in the rentals between the years is there were a lot of large groups doing the fields in fiscal year 2016 versus there wasn't as many. I tried to, anytime they did multiple days, I tried to treat each of them as an individual rental on there.
Yeah, I'm just curious, since you went through every little, did you find a trend? Were there some weekends that we didn't have any rentals of the pavilion, like when it was really cold, or do you know what I'm saying? Or was it pretty consistent every weekend we had somebody rent?
Pretty much, Mayor.
Okay.
Every weekend there were really the only times it wasn't is because it had been rented, but then it was refunded because there was rain or weather or it was cold. But it's pretty much taken all the time. And that's a great point that you bring up. So keep that in the back of your mind that it's always taken and you get it for the entire day.
Okay.
And just so you know, I did the revenue-wise, it averages about $12,000 a year to the city of what these fees are bringing in right now. And I took it a little bit a step farther because one of the things we talked about in the Park Commission was, is there really much of an issue of the weekend versus the weekday? Because we kind of felt it overcomplicates things a little bit and we had wanted to simplify it down. It's about 50-50. 51% of everything takes place on the weekend, so it's not really skewed one way or the other that would really justify the difference in any sort of rate. And then, interestingly enough, based on the zip codes that were on all these forms, roughly 87% of the people renting are not Leon Valley residents. They're from San Antonio or otherwise. So keep that in mind too.
So how can we transfer that over to the community and conference center?
Well, I'm glad you asked that.
You know?
Which we'll get to after this slide.
Yeah.
So a couple high-level ones. Obviously, on the sport fields, we want to remove that half-hour increments. Let's just keep it at 1 hour. Nice and simple. We also want to change the max time that you can, instead of getting the pavilions for the entire day, we want to shorten that up to a 4-hour block. So that we'll have a morning block and an afternoon block, and then we'll have twice as much that we can reserve it to everyone. Additionally, like we'd already said, we want to make sure that to reemphasize that everything's on first come, first serve unless you have previously reserved it. So we don't want anyone thinking that the park's not going to be available to them. And then finally, what's not in there is we did want to clarify and make sure that violation of any park policy could result in the loss of their deposits as well. It wasn't specifically spelled out. I know we've had some issues in the past with vandalism, so just clear that up. And then finally, just revising so that the city manager, their designee, can waive the minimum times for league play. So if a tournament wants to come in, it gives them the option to do so.
So let me ask you this: when you split it up, morning and afternoon, if somebody wanted the whole day, then they'd have to pay double?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically.
Basically,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which actually you can see right here. So what we're looking at on the pavilions is eliminating the weekday versus weekend differential.
Oh, okay.
And then converting to basically sunrise to 2 and 3 to sunset. And if you think about it, we say 4 hours for the time block down at the bottom, but really it's about a 5 or 6 hour time block is what it's really going to end up being if you maximized your time on that reservation. Full day rentals, they're still applicable. The applicant would just pay a single deposit, but then they would pay the double proposed rental fee. So in this case, if, say, on a Saturday, a Leon Valley resident wanted it, they'd pay the whole day, they'd pay the $50 plus $200 to rent the whole thing, and then they'd get it for the entire day.
Okay.
Now, this seems like a bit of a sticker shock when you look over at the current structure, but let's just take it as they were doing one time period. Okay. If you rented the Sorry, let me catch up on my notes here.
Can you tell me what those 4-hour blocks would be?
Sunrise to 2 p.m., 3 p.m. to sunset. And what that, the
Oh,
reason
okay,
we
I gotcha.
structured, the reason we actually
To 2
structured it
p.m.
like
and
that.
3 p.m. to sunset. Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Sorry, I.
And it's like that
Following
because
it.
the public works staff on the weekends and during the day, they basically work a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. So they're out and about during the day. This allows them at the end of their shift to restructure everything. When they're coming back to the public works office at around 2 o'clock or so, they can stop at the park, they can turn over the pavilion, clean it up, and it's ready for the next crew. So it doesn't
In that
really
1 hour.
adjust. So
Okay.
we've got the turnover already built in
Okay.
to that. And we've confirmed with Melinda that that works just fine for their weekend crew and their weekday crew. So talking about the $100 real quick, it does seem like a lot, but in reality, if you look at what it was costing before, it was actually the non-refundable portion of it. You were paying $95 before during the week, and you were paying $110 on the weekend. And granted, you got it
All
for the
day.
whole day,
Right.
but I mean, I know I've driven by there more than enough, as has everyone else. Your party's not going to last the majority of the time. It's not going to last all the day. And if you look at the slips that everyone was turning in, even though they get it for the whole day, they'd say, yeah, we're going to be there from 10 to 2, or we're going to be there from 2 to 4. You know, they got it, but it's not really being used that whole time. And then, of course, it just adds $25 to get the barbecue pit if you want it. And we are looking at splitting up the rates. So Leon Valley residents, there's a discount. If you're not a Leon Valley resident, it costs a little bit more. So increasing the deposit, increasing the rental fee. Okay, the small pavilion, same thing. It switches from all day to sunrise to 2, you know, to get that split. Full day court, it's the same thing for that. If you want it both, you pay one deposit, both rental fees. We're looking at a $25 deposit, which we actually did not have before on the pavilion. There was a $35 application fee before and $5, so you were paying $40. Now we're asking half of that. So $20 and you get it for the 4 hours. $40, you still get it for the whole day. So really there's no change there in the revenue. The sport field and court rentals, we elected to keep the horseshoe pit off of there. We have added on the Forest Oaks tennis court just to get that in there, now that it's part of the city itself. And we've looked at raising some of these hourly fees, and it's still split up resident versus non-resident. The majority of all of them would be $10 an hour, with the exception of the large soccer field, which would be $15 and $20 respectively. All of these do still have what was previously called that application fee for the fields. It does still require a $25 reservation fee. But just like before, if you know you're going to do it 6 weeks over the summer and you reserve it at the same time, you pay your $25 and pay everything else all at once. You don't have to pay multiple.
Okay, now I know that there is every morning tennis group at the Rimpkes Park. They don't pay, right? Because they don't have to reserve it.
They are part of first come, first serve.
First come, first serve. Okay, now.
Only way these would ever be affected is if
it's
somebody
reserved.
had actually
Now,
reserved
let me
it.
ask you about the Forest Oaks court. I thought it was locked.
It is.
And so how are we gonna do that?
It is locked, but it was locked so loosely you could slip in.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
what they've been doing.
Okay, all right.
And so we just have, like we do with the park bathrooms, we need to, you know, make it a point to every time that we need to, we go over there and unlock the court and
Okay.
let people in.
Okay, thank you. I just been seeing that it was locked. Okay.
Kind of think it's one of those easy fix kind of items.
Okay.
So, any other questions so far? I know I'm kind of blasting through this.
Let me just ask a question.
Of course.
Sometimes it's easy to get into that tennis court over there at Forest Oaks, sometimes not. And there's doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to why it's locked, or who would give you access to it if you want to walk down the street, say from your house at Forest Bend and Forest Way, and play a little tennis. So
I'll defer that one to Melinda.
Because it's new, I mean, we just haven't messed with it at all. There was a combination lock on there, and if you put in BALL, you could get in there and play tennis. And so because we don't have anybody over there, it's not been added to our system until now, we're just now considering it. That's why we want to add it into the fee structure and then get a policy, a procedure in place to where we can make sure that that does occur.
But it would be first come, first serve.
Yes, sir.
Unless somebody wanted to rent it on a
Rent it.
standing basis. I want to play tennis at 9 o'clock every morning for forever. Okay.
This was actually one of the more talked about points during the park commission meeting. We've been actually talking about this since, I think, August, every single meeting. And that was one of that just consistently came up was, well, do we do Ray Rinkus? Do we shift to Forest Oaks? And I think just the general consensus is let's just get it in there and we'll take it from there.
But somebody could still use it before we get all of this finished, right? All of the policy or?
Correct. If it's
okay.
open and accessible, yes.
Okay, so you need to get the code from Melinda in order to go. Okay.
No changes to large group cleaning fees other than technically, if you looked at it, it was specifically written to say that the large fees capped at 200. Anything over that, they didn't get charged the fee. So this just settles that out at 201 plus, adds a level of $250.
And what did you find from your research? How many
As to
large,
how many
large,
times?
Groups do we have on an annual basis, would you say?
I want to say somewhere around 20 to 25 large groups.
Wow. Okay, for the whole year?
For the
Spread
whole
over
year.
the year. Okay.
Unfortunately, it's hit or miss if it gets charged or not.
Okay.
Full disclosure.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And I honestly, I think that's just a training issue with whoever's working the reservation desk. So.
Okay.
So like I said earlier, this generally, on average, generates around $12,600 in revenue. We're hoping that by splitting it up, we can at least get a 50% increase in revenue, another $5,000, $6,000 or so. I think it really does provide an opportunity to have, and we do that not through the increase of fees, but really it's the splitting up of the time periods where this is really going to come into play. And additionally, these funds can be funneled right back into the parks through the general fund, I know, to just continue to improve our facilities and upgrade and make everything that much better.
Are we able to do that, Ms. Moritz? Does this fee go back into the park fund, or does it go into the general fund?
No, ma'am, it goes straight into the general fund.
That's-
It's not
that's
a
what I thought.
designated fund itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But at least you have that data that you can say is attributable to the fee structure. Okay, thank you.
And of course, the recommendation of the Park Commission is to accept these changes
Okay,
and implement them as stated in the ordinance, and I'll stand for questions.
okay. Any other questions for Mr. Smith on this proposed fee structure from the Park Commission? Or any questions from our residents that are here this evening? Yes, Dr. Edwards.
Why bother with the tennis court issue? I mean, I looked at the chart there. There are only about 13 people in 3 years that reserved the courts.
Councilor Edwards, that's a great question that we discussed as well. Really, it's more so to just have it there, because if it's not there, then somebody wants to do it, we can't. It's the same reason we added the basketball court on here. I don't believe anyone's even approached us ever about doing it, but as long as we're in there, it's just setting up the infrastructure to have it there and have the option.
Okay.
Yeah, I read the minutes of the Park Commission, and I believe somebody made the comment that our basketball court isn't even the right dimensions and the height and all that. So I'm like, uh-oh, okay. So as far as a tournament, I don't think we'd rent it out very much, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And, you know, if you look at it, like fiscal year 2007, there was 202 reservations across all of this. This is more so just if you really want it. And when things like the tennis court, that sort of thing, some of the smaller facilities, those 3 rentals were really when a large company was coming in, and they were just selecting everything in there. So actually, for the tennis courts, I think that was all of them is what that was. No private citizen ever actually rented those by themselves.
Okay. Well, very good. All right, great discussion and our first reading. So next meeting, March the 6th, we'll put it on for our second reading and approval. Thank you so much for all
Thank you,
your
Mayor
hard
and Council.
work. Really appreciate you going through all those slips, and I know Ms. Moritz is thrilled for that help. You bet. Thank you. All right. Then moving on to our regular agenda number 8.3. Ms. Pasolay, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing a budget adjustment of the fiscal 2017-2018 general fund budget of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, in the amount of $29,600 to provide funding for engineered plans and specifications for the grading of the Leon Valley Hike and Bike Trail project, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back, Ms. Moritz. I think this kind of overlaps with our other discussion that we had in the second reading.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is to consider approval of an ordinance authorizing a budget adjustment in the amount of $29,600 for the plans, specs, and engineering of the hike and bike trail. So the Trail Committee recommended and the council approved hike and bike trail alignment to run parallel from El Verde from Shadow Mist to the Bandera Road Bridge. In order to provide for the engineering of the grading portion of this project, funds are needed in the amount of $29,600. We are hopeful that the actual grading, the construction portion of it, will be paid for and performed by the Bexar County Flood Control Project Control Agency as a part of their LC-17 flood control project. They will need these plans in order to do any of the work. As you know, the city applied for and received a reimbursement grant from the MPO for the construction of the trail. However, the grant never pays for engineering. The cost must be borne by the city. In addition to the grading plan, the city will also pay for the remaining portion of plans for the actual finished project when the time comes. And by that I mean the concrete and all the other amenities that are with the trail. So Bexar County Flood Control expects their project to be completed midsummer, but the county will not be deeding the land to the city for a period of 1 year from completion of their project. At that time, then they will. It's expected that the plans for the remainder of the trail will be completed in the winter of this year and submitted to TxDOT for review in early January. The reviews should be complete and the project ready for bid by the time the county deeds the land back to us. And this was just a recap. You saw the same slide in the last presentation. Those were the original costs from the original MPO grant application. And this is the updated construction costs for this portion of the trail. And that concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Moritz on this particular agenda item? Yes, Councilor Jordan.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It says $29,600 and for this project, and then you said we hope that Bexar County will do the rest of
the construction portion.
Right.
So the actual grading.
So if they don't, then the city has to do that.
Yes, sir.
What we have an estimated cost on that?
The total opinion of probable cost for the entire project is going to be $1.645 million.
Right.
With 10% of that being for engineering, $250,000 of it right in there for contingency, and so you're looking at 1.2 for construction. If I look at, it's very hard to separate out what portion of this the county would actually do and how much of it we would have to do as well. But you're looking at preparing right-of-way, which is $72,750. A part of that would be covered by the county's construction of this. You're looking at excavation at $68,400, and so that cost would mostly be borne by the county if they decided to go ahead and do this grading for us. We would still probably have to do some embankment work, but that's valued at $24,000, so maybe cut that in half. I would estimate that by having the county actually perform this work for us, we would probably save $60,000 to $65,000.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And what's the timeline, or when will we get an answer from Bexar County about the grading? And I know they needed the plans, so that's going to be submitted.
Correct.
Well, when we submit the plans, will we write a letter saying we'll cover the cost too? Or how do you
We've already submitted the plans, and we've already written the letter.
Okay, very good. So we've already done, so we're waiting.
We're waiting.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you very much. All right, if there's no further questions from either the counselors or our citizens, this is our first reading, and this will be placed on our March 6th, 2018 City Council meeting for final second reading. All right, then moving then to agenda item number 8.4. Ms. Pasley, if you'll please read the ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing a budget adjustment to decrease the fiscal 2017-2018 general fund budget of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, in the amount of $18,000 to provide additional funding for city park benches made from the tree repurposing project.
Okay. There was some kind of a noise there that was introducing you, Ms. Mortz, to present this agenda item for 18,000. Oh, okay. If you'll begin, please. Thank you.
Okay, this is to consider approval of a budget adjustment in the amount of $18,000 from the general fund, and it's to purchase the benches that are going to be made from the repurposed trees taken from the LC-17 flood control project. In April of 2017, City Council authorized a budget adjustment to have the trees milled, and then y'all selected a style and number of benches. The council selected a concrete form bench and chose to have 20 of them made. And this was made with the understanding that staff would have to come back to the council for a budget adjustment to actually pay for the benches themselves. And this is a drawing, and the middle one is the one that the top one. The middle one is the one that the council chose, sorry. And so the concrete form-based benches were at $1,000 per bench. 20 benches at $1,000 is $20,000. But we received a discount of 10% because we ordered more than 15 benches. $15,000 was placed in the 2016-17 budget to pay for the milling. However, no funds were placed in this year's budget to pay for the actual benches. Last year we paid Greenwood Milling $11,296. This year's funds would come from the general fund. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay. Ms. Mortz, and I don't know if there is, did we talk about when we were addressing this issue a couple of months ago about some kind of raising money from people who might want to buy one as a memorial or something? I thought,
It was for the extra benches.
It was for the extra
Yeah,
benches?
there was a lot more,
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
could we still?
Talking about additional benches because there's more wood,
We have more wood in store?
I wasn't a part of that discussion.
Oh.
This was the previous community development director that started this project, and
Oh.
I'm just kind of finishing it up as we
I
go
think
on.
she said there were about 40, and so, but because of the cost, we stuck with half that amount and hoped that we could get donations for some of the rest of the benches.
Okay.
Because this is ending up costing about $1,500 a bench.
Mhm.
I think more than we anticipated.
Okay.
Could we,
Yes. Dr. Edwards, go right ahead.
could we undertake some effort to see if there are people in the community who would like to underwrite a bench?
Mhm. And how would we do that? I don't know, so I'm asking.
I've never done it
Yeah, I've
before,
never-
but
yeah.
imagine it would be like
Okay,
selling a brick.
I bet you Ms. Kinsler has. Okay. Ms.
Mayor,
Kinsler,
council, we
have
could
you-
start a PR campaign just through our social media and announce it at the Parks Commission, see if we could get the word out. And absolutely, we could have a bench sponsorship, with a little plaque or something on it.
Okay.
It's something I could, yeah, absolutely. There you go.
Okay.
So what-
Something I could have Ms. Mendoza work on.
And what I recall is that the part for the 11,000 plus was all the milling is done. So now the
Right.
benches would be about 1,000 apiece.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that includes the extra 20 if they're done. I think there were 40 total is what they said
No,
could
ma'am.
be made.
No, we didn't have any done.
No,
There were-
that's what they told us we didn't choose to make all the
40,
benches because it
because
was
of the
too,
cost.
Right.
too costly. But there was enough wood to make them.
Oh, I see where you're going.
And Can
I
you,
thought you meant
can
we
you-
had ordered them now. I'm like,
No,
oh.
we did not order them.
Can you verify that for us, that there's
Certainly.
extra wood to make an additional 20 benches in the future if we, so, yeah, that would be good for the next presentation, because this is our first reading. But yeah, I seem to remember that as well, so, okay, yes.
Well, I was
Counselor
just gonna say,
Jordan.
yes, ma'am. I thought there was 25. And
We're all thinking of another
yeah.
number.
And we agreed to do the 18, and what we're talking about right now was to try to sponsor, ask people to sponsor benches over and above that number. But
Okay. All right. So approving the 20 benches for the budget adjustment here, plus do a campaign for outreach to see if anybody wants to sponsor a bench with a plaque, correct? Okay. All right. So you'll get that specific information for us next meeting if we have 20 more 20 more benches with the wood that we still have left. Okay, or what the status is. Okay, that'd be great. All right, any other questions? If not, then we will move to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 8.5, discuss and consider possible action on an amendment to the Leon Valley Public Library Policy and Procedural Manual, Articles 8 and 9, and we have Sandy Underwood, our library director, here this evening. And just a point of clarification, this isn't an ordinance, so you don't need 2 readings. This is just trying to educate ourselves on this new procedure that we have before us. So welcome, we're so glad you're here, and I know you've put a lot of effort into it.
Is that the clicker? Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
After about, I guess it's been 1.5 years, 2 years with our policy manual and putting it into practice, we've run across a few more things we want to clarify and clear up or simplify, as the case may be.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the top, I can't see. Oh, this is the arrow. Okay.
There you go.
Got it, okay. So policies establish the framework for what will or will not be done. They're a philosophy, a standard, a criteria that helps us exercise good judgment. We have updates proposed to the patron conduct policy to update wording for clarity and completeness, and the updates were approved by the library's Board of Trustees. Background, the enforcement of our policy manual has pointed out a couple areas that need updating. The first one is Article 8, Section 8.01 and 8.02. It's the patron conduct policy, and it needs to be updated for clarity and completeness. And then clarification of Article, it's 8, Sections 8.03. That is, Article 8 is the patron conduct policy. Section 8.03 is the library response to policy violations. Not necessarily just patron conduct policy. It needs to be separated out. So it's its own Article 11 with changes and some additions. So that's what we're presenting
11,
here.
yeah. I said 9.
So the first one is our updates proposed to Article 8, Sections 8.01 and 02. And you've got, in your package, you have the full written out. But the second paragraph noted in red, the policy reads, the Leon Valley Public Library maintains the right to expel from the library any individual, adding the words, who violates any part, term, or condition of this article, that should say Article 8, or who contributes to a disruptive, safe, or unwelcoming environment. So the addition are the words in red. The rest stays the same. Section 8.01, we want to add number 1 in there, which is just a basic, should be there. Follow the policies of the library, which are posted on the website and are available in the library. We also have one addition to Section 8.02, number 7, and it states actions not allowed in the library, smoking. We want to add the words or vaping in the library. So it's just the red additions on those. And then the second thing is a little bit more. This is where it's currently Article 8, Section 8.03, library response to policy violations. We want to change it to Article 11 because it does have to do with all policy violations, not just Article 8, which is patron conduct. So the changes are, numbers 1, 2, and 3 leave the same. Number 4, the wording was basically changed a bit there. I know the city attorney reviewed all this, and we wanted to clear it up. We want to add what is in red. The Leon Valley Public Library maintains the right to permanently expel from the library facility any individual who contributes to a disruptive, unsafe, or unwelcoming environment. The city manager shall provide written notice to the person who is being expelled. Number 5, so that had stated, number 5, library director shall provide written notice. Strike that, and what we're doing, the red is the addition. Basically, the one below it, number 6, that top sentence that's struck out, move it up. City manager has the authority to temporarily suspend or permanently expel a patron from the library relevant to the offense based on, adding a little more words here, based on the library director's recommendation at the sole discretion of the city manager. The city manager shall provide written notice to the person being expelled. So the following one, just take out the first line. We're moving it up to be complete and more concise with that note. And we want to add number 7. Failure to follow the steps by the library director or city manager does not waive the right of the city to temporarily suspend or permanently expel a patron from the library at the sole discretion of the city manager. And then we had nothing covering immediate expulsion, and these are pretty egregious things. So we want to add this entire section in red, which are not addressed at all. Committing or attempting to commit activities which constitute a crime or a violation of law, possessing, selling, distributing, displaying, using dangerous weapons in the library. You can read these: engaging in physical, intimidating, assaultive behavior, threats, possessing, selling, consuming intoxicating beverages or controlled substances, or trespassing, or entering or remaining on the premises after having been notified not to do so. That mainly applies to suspension. And that is the presentation.
Something that just came to my mind as we're going through this, do we have an appeal process in place? No appeal. No appeal at all.
That was
okay.
taken out, I think, in, gosh, 1 or 2 times
Okay,
back
I
when
just, I guess just in, I guess I work in the law, so if you lose, you have an appeal process, and so that's the thing that came to my mind. And was there a reason why we got rid of it? Can you remember, Miss Friedrich? I'm sorry.
I think that the librarian and I and the city manager, I'm not sure if Ms. Kinsler was involved in that discussion, but we had appeals, and even after they appealed and they were let back in, they continued to have the same behavior. It was never resolved. And so we just felt like the city manager should have the discretion based on what the offense was, to determine whether or not they could be suspended or permanently expelled at that point.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Alcacer.
I appreciate the way you did it. It's delineated in red, and doing the cross-outs was very helpful. I had a couple of questions. The first one, are there problems with all those last ones you have, what you're calling the egregious offenses? Have there been problems in that regard?
I have personally dealt with one, yes. But this is one of those, we kind of need to have them in place. I don't want to put them in place after we've done it, because experience shows the library does bring in. It's a public library, and we don't know who's coming in, and there are some pretty colorful characters, and we have dealt. Second from the bottom, possessing, selling, distributing, consuming, or being under the influence. I dealt with that probably with the police, gosh, 2 or 3 months ago.
And how do you define what's disruptive behavior and the things like that you have included? That seems kind of nebulous to me. It's on the prior page.
It's a subjective, somewhat subjective.
Maybe it's on the one before that.
No, that was.
Disruptive,
that was it.
unsafe, no, the one you had just
Right
did.
here.
The first page.
First red line.
No,
Maintains the right to permanent,
Oh, the first
disruptive,
page.
The one
unsafe, or
before.
unwelcoming. I think we go back to the whole
there it is, disrupt,
personnel,
unsafe.
not personnel, patron conduct, and we define that.
So you have disruptive, unsafe, and unwelcoming
I think it
defined somewhere?
defines it in here.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Who contributes to a disruptive, unsafe, and unwelcoming environment? Okay, that's number 8.
Now, section 8.02 says number 1, just does say disruptive, uncontrolled, or unsafe. Yeah, there isn't a definition. Typically, when we have this, it's somebody is yelling in the library and will not leave. We've dealt with those issues where we do have people just kind of going off the wall, reaching in their socks. We're not sure what's going on, but it's usually yelling or being just very boisterous and disrupting other people when the other customers are coming to us and complaining.
So
It's not talking too
do we
loud
need
on
to
the
add
cell
as
phone.
determined by the library staff or something like that? I mean, some people might find it disruptive, the kids running around. And other people find
Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
we have a child, unattended child policy and child behavior
remember that.
policy in there that does discuss the parents have to be within sight, in control of their kids, not letting them run and just, disturb. So that is in a different.
Right, I remember that, but you
So-
feel comfortable making decisions in this regard?
I
as to-
haven't had issue, but
Mayor and council,
About
we
our-
can definitely look into adding a definition for those things or leaving it up to the discretion of the librarian. She's the librarian, so she feels like the library is being disrupted. She should have the discretion to regulate that. But if you direct us, we will put that definition in there, definitely.
Well, I'd like, at least as determined by the librarian or library staff, I think.
Most
would be
things
good.
the things we deal with are, there's a very definite line where it's people too loud on the phone or decide to kind of talk to each other and get too loud or boisterous.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones that are just keyed up and yelling, and there's
Well,
a
see,
very definite line.
I always
That's where I
thought
place
that the
that.
library, you're supposed to be quiet.
The library is the
know?
most colorful place, surprise,
That's,
surprise.
And so
can tell you
anything other than
stories,
that is
yes.
disruptive, right? And I'm also wondering about health issues. Did we have that defined in there? If somebody is coughing or, we did have that, right? We've already addressed that, right? Okay, good. All
Adjust
right.
yes.
Okay, very
Yes.
good. You're just updating. Okay, I just
Right.
wanted to be sure that we
Yeah, we
had
do
the
have
health
that in there about
the
the health.
last time. Okay, very good. Yes, Counselor Martinez.
I think it's the next page over,
In the slides.
okay, the city manager has the authority. Shouldn't that be at the lowest level, or, not the lowest level, but the library director should have the authority to temporarily suspend or permanently expel somebody? Shouldn't that be kept at a lower level than taking it all the way to the city manager level?
The reason that's come up, and we had it at city manager, is if it's at the point where it's a permanent expulsion, it's been pretty volatile or something, because there are stages in here where you get a warning, you get whatever it is, there's steps to be taken. But by the time if we're at a permanent expulsion or suspension, I hope she's known about it at this point. We have taken it to her, because you all are going to get calls probably from that person or emails.
Mayor and council, one of the reasons why I felt that it should be the city manager, because she already gets the emails of them trying to appeal to her anyway. or explaining the situation. She gets constant emails, so if she's there to know, as recommended by the librarian, or the library director, what's going on and what the recommendation is, she can just make an immediate decision on, depending on the behavior.
Okay, my other comment is on the next page. Okay, okay, possessing, selling, or distributing, displaying, or using any dangerous weapons. I can see that, but if a person has a concealed carry and they're not displaying it or doing anything, they should be allowed into the library at that point. Now, I can see possibly posting a 3007 and restricting open carry, but concealed carry should be allowed.
Okay. Chief Salvaggio, did you want to comment on that, please? Thank you, sir.
I think we just probably need to add one word and say illegal weapon.
Illegal, yeah. Illegal.
Because as a municipality, we cannot keep somebody from carrying only in certain areas. City Hall during this time period, municipal court, but the library, fire station, those types of places, we can't. I don't think that they meant for concealed carry or whatever. I think it's just meant to say illegal weapon.
Okay.
I'm fine, if adding that word, I'm fine.
So take out dangerous, add illegal, or
Right.
Or just add illegal is what he said, considered an illegal weapon.
All right.
Okay. Very good. Any other? Yes, Counselor
Notice
Ely?
At the top of both pages, at this one, it does say library director's discretion. And at on the previous page, it also states that the library director can.
Where? This one was because, but if it's immediate expulsion,
Right.
it's pretty.
Pretty dangerous.
If it's immediate, I don't have time to go and.
Right.
We're gonna write up a letter now and.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't know who it is. In the case of the alcohol possession and stuff, was somebody who walked in off the street, and so we don't know. And where are you seeing here? I'm missing this.
Library response to policy. Any person violating patron conduct can be presented with notification to stop.
Those are our steps,
Yeah,
yes.
that's just already in the steps
Right,
there. So if she can't control it at that point, that's when she goes to the final step of asking the
Right, those are
director.
already in place.
Yes.
Policy violation,
Yeah, I think he was
Absolutely
just
stop and
stating
present.
where are the steps, that you don't have discretion, it just goes immediately to the top. And no, you have steps along the way.
Yes, we have steps, right,
Yeah.
in place.
Ms. Underwood, I was just wondering, how have you seen a change in people who come to the library with the adjustment of longer hours?
No,
Okay.
not a change in the people. Do you
Okay.
mean the flow of traffic?
Yeah,
We're
I
still-
didn't know if this prompted, maybe you have
No,
just a
it
lot of
wasn't
new.
prompted by that at
Okay,
all.
you just wanted to go through and clarify, but
Well,
it's-
yeah, we've had some other issues that we've had
Sure.
to deal with, and it's.
But I mean, has it been a positive move for the 7 days, and have you seen?
So far, yes, very
Okay.
good.
And not, in spite of the change, the closure of Evers
That's what
Road?
we're really watching really close.
Okay.
We take numbers, door counts,
Uh-huh.
computer, Wi-Fi,
Sure.
checkouts, everything every day, because I'm watching to see if it's the same traffic
Uh-huh.
spread out over 7 days, or if we're truly increasing all 7 days. And that's hard to tell with the road closure right now.
Okay,
So,
right, and you don't have anything to compare it to from last year, because this is your first year to be open
right.
7 days.
It's a little tough to tell. We are
Okay.
seeing a downturn a bit.
Downturn,
but
okay. All
We're
right,
hoping that's temporary.
okay, very good. Yes, Counselor Jordan?
Thank you, ma'am. How's it tracked if an individual is suspended or expelled from the library with different employees, staff coming on different shifts and so forth? How is that tracked? If I came in the library and I was
Okay, I see
was
what you're saying,
suspended,
yeah.
am I on a log, is there a picture, or how's that
If there
tracked?
was a suspension, we'd have documentation
Mm-hmm.
of that. And I always make sure all employees know who, what the status is. Somebody's been warned, they're on there, whatever it is going to be. It doesn't happen that often,
Right.
but when it does, I make sure everybody is alert and aware of what's the status of whoever it may be that we're having an issue with.
So if they come into the desk to ask for a computer or something, their name is either pulled up, or
Yes.
is there a way to flag them in the computer
Yes, if
system?
they're a library
or-
member, yes, we pull them up. We don't put it on their records. It's just something that we have communicated that this is who, if we're having a problem with somebody, we're all aware that we're on, they're having a problem. Please, if there's issues tonight, let me know, call me, leave me a note, whatever it may be.
Okay, and like I said, it probably don't happen very often, but I think this escalated level of responsibility, the way you have it, is good as far as you and then the city manager. But if there's a point where the individual is suspended permanently, then maybe the council could be notified, because we're probably going to hear about it, and just to know the activity that's going on at the library if it's getting to that level. That's just my recommendation.
Right, okay, thank you.
Do that.
Yes, Dr. Edwards?
My concern is, let's say somebody engages in these kinds of behaviors and is banned permanently, but they happen to have a lot of resources, or they find an agency like the ACLU to sue the city. Do we think this is going to stand up? Do we think that not having an appeal process is going to fly in a court?
We've actually been in that situation a few times. Very close. We've had people threaten that they are going to come back when they've been, and one person who's been banned 2 or 3 times has threatened it, and that's when some of this.
Mayor and council, case law gives us, the city or any governmental agency, the right to permanently expel in doing our governmental functions without being liable for suit. I mean, anybody can sue, but it's just a matter of whether or not the court determines us to have been doing a governmental function. We should be immune from suit with regard to this according to case law. So.
Right, very good. Any other questions for Ms. Underwood? Any other questions from our chamber? Yes, Ms. Rowe, if you'll ask your question.
I just have a question of clarification on the possessing, selling, distributing, consuming, or being under the influence of any intoxicating beverage or controlled substance. Prescription medications a lot of them are controlled substances, so people that are on medications legally that they have to take, like elderly people that are on tons of medication or whatever, I know that would be like a librarian probably wouldn't kick out somebody taking medication legally, but I don't know if that needs to be clarified or not.
Well, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Mayor and
Yes.
council, I agree. That was one thing we missed, and that's why we come.
Yeah.
Bring our presentation, because sometimes things slip by us. But it probably should be either an illegal controlled substance or a controlled substance taken illegally. I don't know, but we'll come up with a better
Chief, do you have
definition.
Chief wants to weigh in on this
Oh,
too.
good.
Yeah. So what would you say?
I would just say illicit drugs.
Illicit, okay.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Do appreciate that clarification.
Intoxicating beverages or illicit drugs. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Illicit substance.
Illicit drugs. Yes, Maria, if you'll come and give your comment, please, and state your name, and we know you live in Leon Valley, so.
Maria Gamboa, 6815 Forest Meadow. I noticed she had a little hard time explaining what happens in the library. I retired in 2013 from the San Antonio Public Library, and I worked like in 4 or 6 different libraries. I went, they transfer us. And what I can tell you is this, and that's what she was having a hard time telling you, is people come in there and you tell them, your book is late, you owe me 20 cents. They get angry and they throw the money at you, or they throw books at you. You ask them, you said, when you want to go into their account, you ask them, what is your name? Do you have your ID? Because we do need an ID, because everybody's named Mary Smith, So you can't go in there and find all these Mary Smith. Well, they get angry because they don't happen to have their ID, or they just don't want to show it to you. So it's, And you know, the kids come in and they're having romance behind
My
the
gosh.
shelves.
Is that
You
true?
know,
Oh, Sandy's
and these
shaking her
are-
head.
You know,
Yeah, you need to write a book.
what she, you know, this
Yeah.
is kind of what she was trying to say. And I mean, it got to the point where one lady accused me of hitting her kid, and I'm going, I don't even know your kid. How could I hit her? So, you know, those are the kind of things. People
Okay.
think, oh, the library is a saintly place,
Sure.
but it's not anymore.
All
This is a
right.
new generation.
Okay.
You know, this
Well,
new, so that's
Thank
kind
you,
of, just
thank
wanted
you
to
for
add that
sharing your
because-
experiences.
yeah,
We
because
appreciate that.
that's-
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Uh-huh.
Libraries are, it is. We could have a conversation for an hour and you
Uh-huh.
would just sit there going, sucking the air out of the room. Because it's shocking that it's a public space. We don't know who's popping off that bus and coming in, and the behaviors we see, and some which she mentioned, and more, many more. It's amazing what happens and what we have to break up or deal with on a daily basis.
Okay, wow.
Do we have an anti-romance clause in here?
Aw, yeah, that's a disruptive behavior. Yeah, as deemed inappropriate by the director who saw it in the back, or the assistant director, yeah. Yeah, that's putting it mildly, okay. All right. Anything else? Any other suggestions on these policy changes? We are able, because it's not an ordinance, we are able to approve this if this is what the council would like to do with these suggested changes that we've made this evening. So,
Make a motion, we approve.
Second it.
all right, we have a motion.
With the changes.
Okay, we have a motion by Counselor Jordan and a second by Counselor Martinez to approve the amendment to the Leon Valley Public Library Policy and Procedure Manual with the proposed changes as discussed or as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you so much for the detailed,
Come over and see us. We'll tell you.
oh, I
some
know,
good
I
stories.
know. And thank you for all the input from our citizens this evening as well.
I wonder if she has pictures.
Do you have pictures? Yeah. Okay. Then moving then to agenda item number 8.6, presentation, discussion, and possible action on the status of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. And we have Ashley Wayman from the Finance Department here to present. Thank you and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Thank you. So tonight I'm here to report on the status of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and then also to get recommendations from Council on how to proceed with this program. The purpose of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, as presented in February 2017, was to promote participation by local youth in municipal government, thereby cultivating civic leadership skills, facilitating connections to success, and empowering members to serve as the next generation of local decision makers. A little bit of background on the program since it was approved. Community outreach was undertaken at various city events and programs. There were flyers made. It was put on Facebook and e-news. I inherited the program in September 2017, at which point I was in contact with an assistant principal at John Marshall High School, and I did receive a list of students who would be interested in the program. Unfortunately, by the time all the information was given to them and they saw the application process, I didn't receive any more applications through them. So the only applications we received were two, and I had them already by the time I got the program. We did interview them, and they went well, but unfortunately we did not meet the minimum participation. And I did inform the students that, and unfortunately they were both moving on out of high school when they were done with the program. So they won't be able to participate if we were to continue the program. I think some of the problems might have been the short notice given to all the students at Marshall. It was already September. Ideally the program would run through the school year. And it was a long application process, and I can see how it might have gotten kind of pushed to the side. Some ideas we'd had to increase participation. I spoke with Felicia Novin. We worked on the interviews together, so we kind of brainstormed and thought of ways to increase participation. Maybe a shorter and easier application process, giving more program information up front. When I spoke to I emailed all the students. They didn't have the information already, other than the flyer, so hopefully more information distributed up front. We'd like to partner with student government at John Marshall, maybe get in through the government classes and get teachers to help us, get the word out. And the idea of possibly transitioning the program to a civic leadership course, where we would give volunteer hours, letters of recommendation. It would look good on college applications, as well as possibly assigning a project to the students, such as maybe a recycling or sustainability project, partnering with the beautification committee, things we could get them to work on that would benefit both the city and give them hours of volunteer work. So what I'm going to go into next is a proposed idea that I worked with Felicia on. And this is just a possible program change or maybe a shift in the program that incorporates some of the ideas I brought to increase participation. But of course, I'm still looking for your feedback and input on the program, so this is all just proposed. So before, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council was 7 to 9 members. As far as, limits on how many students can join, we thought maybe more students is better if we would allow more students. And the same, we would keep one adult advisor or city liaison. The eligibility of the old program as well was about the same, be of at least freshman level, attending John Marshall High School. We added in their magnet schools, so anyone who is a Leon Valley resident but is going to other schools for other programs, as well as homeschool students who reside in the city, but preference, of course, would be given to the Leon Valley residents. It also did come up about receiving notable interest from younger students. We do have the School of Science and Technology here in the city, so if we were to open the program up to 8th graders who are going into high school, perhaps we could get better participation that way. Some of the responsibilities, a lot of these remain the same from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. One of the new ones is developing an understanding of the positions in City Hall. We were hoping to make it more of a learning experience for the students, bring them in, let them talk to different departments, spend some time with the police chief, learn about the police department, fire chief, the same kind of concept there. The promoting participation and understanding of local government by youth stayed the same. This slide, all of the responsibilities stayed the same, attending council and board meetings, monitoring programs and how they affect the youth in Leon Valley, as well as providing access for comment from the youth, getting them involved in government. We wanted to add in here just a strong emphasis on volunteering, so as well as assisting with and coordinating events, volunteer hours. A lot of students in high school need those for National Honor Society. Lots of different programs require they have so many hours, so if we could provide those to those students, that would probably be helpful to get more participation. Possibly coordinating a presentation with city staff in the school civics or government classes. I've had a little bit more of a difficult time reaching out to Marshall High School at this time. The assistant principal I was working with before is no longer there, so now trying to get a contact and get contact with someone over there has been a little bit more difficult. And then the final responsibility stayed the same, just, whatever the council sees fit as kind of duties to assign these kids. Applications will be received hopefully before school starts, and we can run this throughout the year, and then the applicants will be assessed on the strength of their application, their willingness and ability to commit time and effort. I know a lot of them, I spoke to the 2 that we interviewed and afterwards and said, so, when can you, well, Wednesday I have this, and Tuesdays I have this, and after school I stay late on these days, so they're busy, but we're hoping that once a month we can get, enough students brought in to come do this program, as well as their performance in the interview process. We had great interviews for the 2 we did do, so if we could just get more in here.
Excuse me, is that what you mean by the minimum student participation was not met?
We only had 2 students that actually sent in their full applications and interviewed. The original program, when it was presented in February 2017, was for a minimum of 7 students
Oh,
and a
okay, so
maximum
it
of
wasn't
9.
with those two applications, just there weren't enough applications.
Right, right. There just weren't any others. Those were our 2. The outreach for this program, Lions Roar Facebook, Twitter, e-news, and the website, the same as before. I have reached out to the Alamo Area Boy Scouts of America, this region, and I have a contact over there, and he says, you know, there may be students interested. They do need community service hours. Administrators and students at Marshall High School, I'm still working on getting in contact with. I did speak with a representative of Youth for Christ, who is in charge of the Marshall High School campus life, and he provided me with good context. I just haven't had very much communication with them yet. But he agreed that, you know, though the kids are busy, they can probably make, you know, once a month meetings, and it would be worthwhile to try to reach out to those students. An open application process online, hopefully a little bit shorter and easier than the last one. The last one did require, I think it was 2 or 3 letters of recommendation that I know in the short notice that I finally got to those students. I don't know if there was a time for them to go get those letters. And the same thing, interviews conducted by a staff committee of 3 members. So basically, we're sticking with the same C statement and strategic goals. We're just seeking direction from council on how to proceed with this program. If we were to take it, this proposed program, keep maybe the old program, but just work on more participation, or any of your ideas. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. You know, I'm for opening it up. I mean, to the science and technology and 8th grade at Pat Neff, and
right.
I don't know. I mean, I just, even maybe 5th graders. I don't know. Maybe that's too young. But
Bring them all in.
Yeah, bring them all in. See who's interested. Who's our future leader? You know, when you were saying the leadership program, I was thinking about how we used to have a leadership program here at the city many, many years ago. And I think we worked, what, like 6 or 8 Saturdays, and the potential leaders in our community that wanted to know more about the city would come in on a Saturday or 2. I can't remember what the day was, but you know, they'd get a synopsis of what the zoning commission does, and they get a synopsis of Board of Adjustment. I guess those would be the 2, and you know, just the city manager form of government. I don't know. But I like. You know, educating them first, and then police department, fire department, and then putting them in some kind of a leadership, volunteer role, something, you know, but giving them a basis first
Right.
of what the city is all about. So
Yeah, from
I
my
don't know.
experience.
And the courts too, the municipal court. That's real important. I think several of us saw this at one of the TML meetings, and that's how it came forth. And the kids were. They even had teen court. I mean, I think that might be an interest for some of the kids. So I don't know. It's an opportunity, but we have to start now for next September,
Exactly,
you know,
right.
in order to get the interest.
Yeah, we'd like to get
So-
maybe booths set up at 4th of July as well. And even if we had some students on board by then, maybe they could help with the actual booth itself and running it and getting kids involved.
And did I understand that it was just limited to Leon Valley students, or do you want to make
That's, you know, that's how the old program was. If there was a John Marshall student who applied, you know, we wouldn't turn them away. But, you know, ideally, when it was more of an advisory council, the idea was to keep it within the city. But, you know, I see no problem in opening it up for.
And I think one of the applicants was a homeschooled student, excellent
Right.
student, so
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Anyway, those were just some comments, but yes, Councilor Martinez, and I'd like to hear from the rest of you.
One thing, I am a product of the community leadership program. I took that when Mayor Meffert was mayor, and that got me started in getting involved in the city. So that was a very good program. One of the things I really agree we need to streamline the application program. And, you know, they're not applying for college. There's no reason to have 2 or 3 letters of recommendation and, hey, you want to get involved in city government? You want to learn more about it? Come on down. Make it as easy as possible. I think one of the things would, like the mayor said, do have the community leadership program. I don't know if you can still find some of the handouts and the paperwork from that, but have it kind of structured where they'll go through each department, and the department can come in and give them a briefing or education on what that department does. When I took the course, we even had towards the last of it, they got a bus and they took us around the whole city and showed us some of the things. A lot of people don't realize that we have a cemetery here in Leon Valley. I didn't know that till I took the leadership course. And there was a lot of things that was really, really good. They went to the police department, and the police showed them what was going on there. Fire department, and let the kids get in the fire truck and turn the lights on and turn the siren on, or have fun. But yeah, we need to make it as encompassing and friendly and educational for the students. And I agree, we should let people from the School of Technology and open it up as wide as we can. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Ely.
It's on. I also agree that we need to bring them in and make it easier. Part of the introduction, if we are going to allow freshmen to come in, then really we need to introduce this at the 8th grade level anyway, the year before, and say, hey, this is what's coming up. If you'd like to join, 8th grade is a great time. I know when I was an 8th grader for myself, I was interested in stuff like that. I remember them giving us tours of the city of San Antonio at one time, where we had a chance to go and tour the jail, and they take us around. That's a great experience for people to do if they've never done it. It's like, I don't want to be there. That's one place I don't want to go. But you learn early, not when it's that point where we're taking you down there. It's like, no, you don't want to go there. So this introduction to government, and this is what's going to be happening in your future. This is what your parents are going through when they're, talking about taxes or talking about what's happening in the community and what can we do about it. This is where you're introduced and you're learning from the ground up. So it's a great time to be mentored in the proper way. This is where this is the direction you do want to go, not the other direction. This is the direction you do want to go, and be a positive force for your community. So yes, that bringing the younger students in, possibly even Holmes High School, which is our north side area. So definitely, we need to move in those areas. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Dr. Edwards.
Oh,
And
I don't know if there's any thought of like having a booth at Earthwise Living Day, maybe to pass out literature.
Always an option, yeah.
So, sometimes there's a lot of.
that's in less than 2 weeks.
I was going to say, so
It's a
none of this
little-
is approved, and we don't have all
Yeah.
the documents ready yet, so
Yeah.
that might be a little early, but,
Uh-huh. But you said 4th of July, so.
right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Some other event, yeah.
Yes,
So, and simplifying the application, maybe making it one letter of reference, and
Right.
so there's some ideas I have.
Very good. Yes. Councilor Jordan, and then Councilor Alcazar.
yes, ma'am, I agree with basically everything that's been said. Maybe shorten the application process and broaden our population base. But I just wanted to offer I'd like to partner with you in reference to making a contact at Marshall High School and working together to engage the leadership over there to get more buy-in on this program. Because I truly believe it's necessary and it's a good program for our youth to be involved, not only in sports activities, but through government as well. So.
Right. And Councilor Alcazar, let me hear from you.
In that regard, I think the government teachers and the school counselors are the best contacts. They know the students, the counselors know the students better than anybody, and the government teachers know who has some interest in government already. I think until the most recent thing, the kids are turned off by what they see nationally on the government, and they just make it float down to thinking all government is. I hear that regularly. Well, you're in, you have to run for election, you're crooked. So people need to realize it's different on the local level, but it is hard to get, the high schoolers have a whole lot of interests other than government at this point, and you've got to find the ones that have some kind of interest in it to get them ongoing.
And the contact with Youth for Christ, Leroy Jacobson, I think is his name. He usually goes to the chamber luncheons, so maybe y'all could exchange cards or something, because he's very active at Marshall, very active. Yes, yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just thought of something to entice, maybe towards the end of their term. Let them be a city council member for the night. Have someone sit next to me and let him get up on the dais, or him or her, and play city councilman for the night.
That's thinking outside the box, Mr. Martinez. Or maybe they do it in other cities. I have no idea. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, anybody else? Okay, so, yes, let's hear from, we've got Ms. Joseph who's coming up, and Ms. Rodriguez here in just yes, and we can turn on the lights now. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had a question. You
Sure.
only had Boy Scouts up there. Have you contacted the Girl Scouts here in Leon Valley too?
I have not yet, no.
Because I know on next door there, the cookies are out. And
Okay.
there's several girls that are selling them, and I used to have a couple down the street. And then reaching out to technical schools, we just reach out to maybe all in North Side, going down to the North Side business office, down here on Evers, and work through them too? That'd be feasible? Okay, thanks.
Well, I think what we're saying is just broaden it, but I think we need to leave it up to your time and your, but definitely more schools than just John Marshall. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yes, Catherine Rodriguez. Good evening and welcome.
Address right? Dr. Rodriguez, and I live on 6526 Seneca. Listening to everything that's been going on about the Mayor's Youth Council, I had originally did the foundation work for it, did all the paperwork. So the way I'm seeing it since the last time, it's been turned over and changed and revised. But my problem is that being that I had approached you with this almost 2 years ago, I'm just wondering how come I was never invited to the process. I know I'm not a city employee, but if I was the one that got all the information, did all the documents, I was just curious why I was not even ever considered involved in this process.
I didn't realize that you had started. I thought we got it at the TML convention.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's where I brought it. That's where we brought it from. I know you wanted to help with it, and I certainly passed your name.
And prior to Megan getting here, when Megan got here, I had given her all the documentation, all the groundwork, so I was just curious to know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we did not know that. So, yeah, I don't know, do you have any idea? Did you get any information about?
We did talking about School of Science Technology, getting the younger students in here, and I'm absolutely would love to work with you on it and get.
Because the original thought was to include 8th grade because high schoolers were so so busy in extracurricular activities. So I know that Megan had all of that information, so I don't know what happened to it in the transition for
Yeah,
Megan.
exactly. It got lost, apparently. So I apologize for that,
So
because
I
we
would
love
like to-
volunteers, as you know.
I would like to meet with her and show her the way it was, I had originally constructed it. Spoken with you.
Okay, so it's completely different than what was presented tonight?
Some of the information is the same, but some of it was still different. Like the application process it wasn't a long detailed, the letters of recommendation wasn't 3, it was only 1.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm saying it
Yeah.
had originally quite different.
Okay, so,
And I have the proposed kind of project already worked up with the shorter application and everything, and we can get together and look at it and maybe bring it back at another meeting. But I wanted to just get direction on it, where we wanted to take
okay,
this program.
all
for you
right.
guys.
So as far as action tonight, it sounds like you'd like to take the ideas that have been generated this evening, work with Ms. Catherine Rodriguez, and then come back with a final proposal? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So do we need a motion for that? Or is that, all right, so
All right.
we're good, we're good,
Okay.
thank you. And again, Dr. Rodriguez, we apologize for that miscommunication, because I did not know you had given Megan all that stuff. So, all righty, very
Thank you
good,
so
thank you.
much.
You bet, have a good evening. And we have one last presentation this evening, agenda item number 8.7, and Ms. Postlev, if you'll please read the ordinance. Good evening, Chief Valdez, and
Good
welcome.
evening, Mayor.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay, great.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley City Council authorizing acceptance of the Southwest Texas Regional Advisory Council, STRAC, grant award in the amount of $4,223 to purchase advanced cardiovascular life support and pediatric advanced life support training for paramedics, authorizing a general fund budget adjustment increase in the amount of $4,223, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. If you'll proceed, please. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. This presentation is to discuss and present the STRAC grant, and we're asking for a budget adjustment so that we can use that grant funding to provide training, much needed training for our paramedics. The grant is for $4,223. We get that grant for participating in a regional EMS team with other EMS providers, and we attend meetings, and we have mutual aid agreements, and participate in all kinds of different exercises, and that's how we earn that money. We can use that money for different purposes, but it has to be specifically related to EMS. And in this case, we're asking to use it for pediatric advanced life support training and advanced cardiac life support training for our paramedics. For all of our paramedics, it would come to about $80 a class. That's a bargain. I mean, that's a really it's a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't get that anywhere else. We would go work with the University of Texas Health Science Center and make sure that all of our training is consistent with the medical director of the city, Dr. Manifold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking that you approve and accept an ordinance, approve an ordinance accepting the STRAC Trauma Grant Award and increasing the general fund budget in the amount of $4,223 for Leon Valley Fire Department paramedic training. The resolution supports strategic goal number 2 to improve the safety and security of the city of Leon Valley through reimbursement and support of the costs associated with providing emergency services. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, so just specifically, how many classes will each paramedic be able to?
It's 2 full days.
2 full days,
Yes.
okay, and those 2 concentrations, pediatric and cardiac, basically.
Right, and they're really updated. Those certifications expire every 2 years.
Okay.
And so we need to renew them, and we
Oh.
get the most updated information when we do those renewals. It's not something you just take once and that's it. And it's just that time, it's just that cycle, and just kind of works out that's the need right now.
Right, so that's your entire staff, because everyone
That's everybody.
is got both the certification, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
very good, excellent. Excellent work. Any other questions for, yes, Counselor Martinez?
I like the idea that you're going after this type of grant, but can you just give us just a real brief synopsis of what each course is?
Sure. The advanced cardiac life support teaches basically the team approach to dealing with advanced cardiac emergencies such as heart attacks, and it teaches how to read algorithms, heart rhythms, and the most current algorithms dealing with a specific heart rhythm. So if you have a heart block or a ventricular fibrillation or pulseless electronic activity or different various rhythms that you might see on a monitor, the paramedics learn together when they see that rhythm what are the steps that are needed to be taken to the best standards of the American Heart Association. So they would pull certain medications, certain drugs, and IVs, interactions, and take those steps. It's just keeping them on the most modern approaches. The pediatric advanced life support is essentially the same thing, but pediatric patients are a whole different world in EMS. And pediatrics, this is not neonatal, this is from ages 1 to 8. And we actually deal with plenty of pediatric emergencies here in Leon Valley. We just had a choking recently within a week. We've had a seizure call. And so they're a very specialized type of patient. Medication dosages need to be calculated correctly. There's a lot of responsibility that the paramedics need to be on top of, and that includes getting this most modern, up-to-date standards in patient care. Pediatric advanced life support is just that. It's learning how to take all the advanced knowledge and care that a paramedic can do, whether it's cardiac interventions or pharmacology interventions or breathing interventions, and it's tailoring it specific to the pediatric patient.
Thank you. And just so give you a little bragging, what's your best time? I heard something unrealistic. Wasn't there a heart attack patient that by the time you were called, and how much time did it take you to get him to the hospital?
Well, I tell you, we've had some pretty good success here. One of our benefits to EMS in Leon Valley is our quick response time, but also our proximity to the medical center and some of the best healthcare in the region and in the state. And so on our recent success, we had a full conversion where the team was on scene in 3 minutes. They recognized together what the rhythm the man was in, and we have a term for that rhythm that's we actually call it tombstones, because it looks like a bunch of tombstones, and it only means one thing: it's over, unless you take some serious action. And that's taught to you in these types of classes. They quickly took action. They shocked him several times, administered several medications, got him back real quick to the point where he was conscious and talking to them. They had, from the time of the 911 call to the time he was delivered at the hospital, was 12 minutes, and that's impressive. You're not going to see that anywhere around this region right now.
And he lived?
And he lived. He lived. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Whoa, okay, I'm glad I live in Leon Valley. Whew, just in case.
And he came into City Hall to say thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and it was like we had another person, from Pavona, who came, and I think he died 4 times, and y'all revived him or something. That was within the last year.
Right.
So we've had nothing but
kudos.
And
they're not always like that.
I know.
And it's unfortunate.
I know.
Once you stop breathing and you're losing that oxygen, the time is ticking away. You have to have some sort of interaction there. So because we get there so quick and our paramedics are working as a team, and that's oftentimes why you see our engine rolling. People ask, why is that engine going on that scene? Sometimes it's a major vehicle accident, which is a part of our policy that they respond, but also if it's a priority 1 call, And what we call a priority 1 call is life-threatening. It's choking, it's somebody have a major heart attack, a stroke, where we just want to swarm it, stabilize it, and get them to the hospital as quickly as possible. You'll see the engine coming because the engine is also carrying paramedics, and that's very unique here in the region. So that's one of the reasons we do that. And we also send our engine anytime it's a bigger patient or a patient that needs to come down from the 2nd or 3rd floor that needs some help. So there's other reasons. So
Very good. Well, thank you.
I move that we accept the trauma grant as
This is our first reading, so it'll be on our agenda for the.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's just.
End the meeting.
Yeah, I know you are.
We're so excited about it, we
Yeah.
want to pass it.
Right, exactly. Well,
Thank you,
we will
ma'am.
we will bring it back then on March the 6th, unless there's any other comments on this particular agenda item from our residents. Okay, thank you so much, Chief, for all your
Thank you, Mayor.
proactive, looking for the grants that help just completely better our fire department. So, thank you. All right, citizens to be heard. Anyone still remaining that would like to give us some words of wisdom? Ms. Gamboa, thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Lydia
Yes.
Gamboa, 6815 Forest Meadow. I just want to real
down.
quick tell you that between, my neighbor, remember, you removed everything. But
Mhm.
between his house, if you're facing my house, it would be your right-hand side.
Okay.
6819, and I think it's 6823. Between there, I don't know, I can't tell rats from mice from whatever, but anyway, they're coming out. So I don't know if it's going to be an infestation or what. So just to let you know that that's what we're having.
This is the house on the
Actually, there
right,
would-
right hand.
Remember the
Yes,
the nasty?
I do, I
Okay,
do.
so his neighbor. I'm
His
his neighbor, but
neighbor.
his neighbor.
Okay, so
Right
it's
there.
2 doors down from you
There
on the
was
right-hand
two of
side.
them. Yeah, there was two
Okay.
of them, and apparently somebody ran over them, and I'm thinking maybe they did, I don't know.
Okay.
But they were dead. We put it on it. Well, nobody ever came out, so the buzzards came and they took it.
Oh.
So then we saw another one after
Mhm.
that, like a week after. So
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, I don't know if they're rats, mice, whatever they are, but they're
Okay,
coming
so
out, so I don't know where they're
We'll
coming
make a note
from.
of it and put it on the list, I
Still has a lot
think.
of junk in the back.
Yeah.
Is that Forest Meadow? Is that-
Forest Meadow.
6819 Forest Meadow and 6823. Those two, it was in between those two houses
mhm.
where they came out of. Yeah, so
Did you see that complaint on it, Crystal?
we put it on it.
I didn't
and we
either.
never got a response. I don't know, my husband did it, so I told him, do it on it, because,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, we have
and
to
he said
document it.
Nobody ever came out, so.
We'll have to look for that because neither one of us remember seeing it.
Apparently somebody
You don't
ran
either, Chief?
over them, they ran over them, and they were flat, and that's how we knew.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we will look it up and put it on the list. Definitely. All right. Anyone else? Okay, well, it's 9:15, and we move to adjourn without opposition, and y'all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on March the 6th at our next council meeting. But before that, please, we'd love to see you at Earthwise on March the 3rd as well, and the chamber and all the other activities.